Chapter 1009. Traveling to Xian's Wood Residence 3. No. Su Luo shook her head. Her gaze was unprecedented, resolute. It's time to tell you. And after you know the truth, whether you stay or leave, you decide for yourself. Nangong Liuyun's gaze was deep, demonically charming and soft, as well as enigmatic and unpredictable. With that burning gaze, he stared at Su Luo, not saying a word. His gaze was too bright, as if in front of him, all the secrets would have nowhere to hide. Su Luo avoided his gaze in the next instant and slowly said, "Do you believe that reincarnation exists in this world?" Reincarnation? If someone else had said this, Nangong Liuyun naturally would not believe them. That was how absurd of a matter. However, these words came from Su Luo's mouth. For a moment he wavered. "Nangong, believe me, on this earth, there is the matter of reincarnation." Su Luo determinedly watched him, her gaze dazzling and sharp. "I clearly remember matters that happened in my previous life. From childhood till I became an adult, I could tell you everything that happened." Nangong Liuyun's complexion did not change, but the hand holding Su Luo's tightened slightly. Su Luo gripped back and firmly nodded. That world was completely different from this one. That was a planet with a civilization very advanced in science and technology. Nangong Liuyun was like an invisible person not speaking, but people still couldn't ignore his strong existence. Su Luo watched him and slowly said, "That world had airplanes, trains, cars, extracted steel and cement." Su Luo told him about the situation in that world once through. Seeing Nangong Liuyun looking extremely confused, she couldn't help but give voice to her laughter. "I met Yun Qi in that other world." Su Luo controlled her expression while appearing very serious as she looked at Nangong Liuyun. Nangong Liuyun's expression turned gloomy, ruthless and brash in an instant. His thick, sharp eyebrows knotted tightly. Since she already said it, Su Luo finished saying everything in one breath. "In that world, I and Yun Qi were indeed together." Nangong Liuyun's complexion was ashen, his thin lips pursed into a straight line. Su Luo bit down on her teeth and simply said it all at once. That matter with a child also really existed, only, at the final moment, Yun Qi's dagger stabbed here. Su Luo pointed to her stomach and slowly said, "In order for him to win recognition and success, he sacrificed us without the slightest hesitation." Although Su Luo's tone played down the matter, however, a betrayal that tore the heart and split the lungs wasn't something you say had passed, and could really let it pass. These matters that Su Luo said really were hard to believe. Moreover, it was unimaginable. When Nangong Liuyun heard of her and Yun Qi's past, he really was jealous to the extreme. However, when Su Luo talked about that scene of betrayal, when she used such an insipid and light tone to describe the scenario, Nangong Liuyun's heart clenched tightly together. The afterglow of the setting sun gradually scattered. Inside the room was pitch black. Neither of them went to light a candle. Nangong Liuyun reclined on the mattress, with his sleek as silk fine hair falling down in torrents. In the darkness, his expression switched suddenly from gloomy to bright in an indeterminate manner, while being enigmatic. No one knew what he was thinking about. Su Luo quietly had her eyes lowered, waiting for his answer. This was her past that she was unable to destroy. She had already gotten over it, but don't know what he would think about it. If he does mind, then it will end here. If he doesn't mind afterwards, she will certainly stay with him and be true. Su Luo's eyes hung down, waiting for his verdict. Time passed 1 minute and 1 second at a time. Inside the room, time was still, appearing to be a deathly stillness. Suddenly, Nangong Liuyun sighed deeply, and his long arms fished over, tightly pulling Su Luo into his embrace. He placed his chin on top of her head. That innate arrogance of his, so noble and domineering, disappeared without a trace in this moment. "Luo Luo, I believe you." 5 simple words which were full of endless affection and love. Chapter 1010. Traveling to Xian's Wood Residence 4. He said he believed her? Su Luo's eyes suddenly lit up, and her pale and sickly face immediately looked radiant. "Nangong." The always strong Su Luo had a faint moistness in her eyes. According to his violent, nefarious and ruthless temperament, shouldn't he have left in a violent rage without ever looking back? Nangong Liuyun released her, his pair of black pupils staring attentively at Su Luo. A pair of penetrating pupils glistened brilliantly like a hungry wolf's in the grasslands. His faintly hungry eyes were chilly, sharp and full of desire. Su Luo looked straight at him, neither too fast nor too slow. Nangong Luyun bent down and suddenly scooped her slender waist into his embrace, bringing her in front of his own body. A feverish kiss that was earth-shattering, domineering and powerful, but was also intoxicatingly tender. Paying attention to Su Luo's weak body, Nangong Luyun stopped after a short time. He cupped her cheeks, the two faces leaning very close to each other. A silver thread was drawn out when their pair of lips separated. An ambiguous atmosphere started to permeate within the room, as if an intoxicating scent was in the air. Inside was still, with only the sound of their breathing. Luo Luo. Nangong Luyun's voice was damn sexy right now, low and demonically charming. Two red petal-like clouds flew upon Su Luo's cheeks that were previously pale as paper. The blush floated faintly on her cheeks. Luo Luo, I like you. Nangong Luyun's gaze was unprecedentedly serious and firm. Su Luo's heart squeezed a little. Always in the past, I firmly believed that the person who would stand by my side must be you. Nangong Luyun quietly looked at her with a serious and grave expression. Su Luo's heart became somewhat nervous from being stared by him. Such a resolute and naked confession made it somewhat difficult for her to digest. Nangong Luyun also seemed to realize that it was somewhat embarrassing. He quietly coughed once. His face failed to live up to his expectations, and was a little red, blushing with shame. After all, confessing to a young lady in such a deadly earnest manner was also his first time. Just like a young woman entering the marriage litter. Nangong Luyun continued to say, always in the past, I was accustomed to being alone. Moreover, I believed I would be alone for the rest of my life. However, you just suddenly appeared like that, attracting my entire gaze. Su Luo didn't utter a word, but she had a smile on her face that encouraged him to continue. He continued to confess his feeling. You are the first girl that I decided to pursue, also the first girl I hugged, the first girl I kissed. A lot of my first times were all yours. Su Luo bit down on her teeth, recalling the first time she met him, and those actions he took on top of the tree, because he seemed quite familiar with them. Her mouth couldn't help but to purse. This guy's first time was done in such a way as if he had a lot of practice. Nangong Luyun, with one hand covering the corner of his mouth, gave a dry cough and continued to confess his feelings. Owing to having no knowledge of dealing with relationships, so I didn't have any previous experience to draw upon. To the extent that I would always do something to upset you. I really am very sorry for that. Su Luo shook her head, and was just about to speak, but Nangong Luyun used a single finger to seal her lips. Because I had no experience, I always made you angry, and let you get injured, but in this lifetime, I Nangong Luyun, firmly believe that it has to be you. Nangong Luyun gripped Su Luo's hand. His gaze was firm, clear, and unswervingly determined. Therefore, Luo Luo, are you willing to continue walking down this road with me? His tone was tranquil, however, his pair of hands that was trembling slightly divulged his nervousness. For a moment, Su Luo froze in place, being stumped for words. She never expected that this man who was arrogant to the point of being in complete shambles, cruel, untamed, and considered himself to be matchless in the entire world. One day, he would lower his voice in arrogance to confess to her and wait in apprehension for her answer. Su Luo paused. At this moment, her heart was like wine that had been aged for a long time. A bit sweet and sour, also with a thread of warmth and romanticism that was hard to describe. Chapter 10-11, Traveling to Xian's Wood Residence 5. You really don't care about my past? Su Luo stared fixedly at him. She did not wish that one day he would bring this out to settle this old account. The previous life's matter was already finished. I only know the you in this life. Nangong Luyun firmly looked at her. That's right, the past, just let it pass. Su Luo quietly gazed at him. Suddenly, something quick-witted appeared, and she said a verse from a television show's dialogue. Nangong Luyun, since this is your choice, then you listen to what I'm about to say. Su Luo's eyes were exceptionally serious. Nangong Luoyun was scared by Su Luo's tone until his heart throbbed violently. He calmly looked at Su Luo, but his tightly clenched fists divulged the nervousness in his heart. You say it. No matter what her answer would be, he would still pursue relentlessly, pester her, and strike until the end. Want him to let go? Only if he dies. Su Luo watched Nangong Luoyun and, enunciating each word clearly, said, If you never leave, I will reciprocate and be with you through life and death. Nangong Luoyun's face stiffened for a second. Momentarily, his eyes shone brightly. His body was stiff as an icicle, motionless, to the extent of not knowing how to react. Su Luo lifted her hands to wave it in front of his eyes. Give me a little reaction, okay? Otherwise, she would feel that her own confession was being refused. It was really embarrassing, okay? Su Luo's voice called Nangong Luoyun back to his senses. Luo Luo. Nangong Luoyun, in one reach, grabbed both of Su Luo's hands, his strength so great as to be astonishing. Su Luo immediately sucked in a breath of cold air. Release my hands. Her hands were nearly squeezed into pieces. Nangong Luoyun hurriedly released her hands, but the excitement in his eyes didn't lessen a bit. That incredulously disbelieving expression was also ecstatic from being moved, to the extent that his stiff body, which then loosened, was trembling slightly. All these reactions landed in Su Luo's eyes without missing an iota. You said we will never leave each other and rely on each other through life and death? Nangong Luoyun's pair of outrageously beautiful eyes, right now, was like an ignited flame, bright and dazzling. The corner of Su Luo's mouth had a smile as she faintly nodded. Just now the wind was too loud. I didn't hear it clearly, say it again. Nangong Luoyun could not conceal the happiness at the corner of his mouth, and requested it in a childishly stubborn manner. The image of Nangong Luoyun being so deeply bleak and lonesome when she had lost consciousness appeared in Su Luo's mind, making her heart turn faintly astringent. She nodded her head, with a shallow smile in her eyes. She looked into his deep eyes. She stressed each word as she firmly repeated, If you never leave, I will reciprocate and be with you through life and death. Nangong Luoyun, let's be together. Nangong Luoyun immediately was so happy that he became foolish. He put Su Luo aside and with a whoosh sound rushed out. But because he was too excited with a bang sound, his body unexpectedly bumped into the doorframe. What level of cultivation did Nangong Luoyun have? How could that doorframe withstand being bumped by his whole strength? Momentarily, the doorframe, with a crashing sound, fell to the floor. The doorframe, with part of the wall, fell backwards like a mahjong tile. Nangong Luoyun jumped from the fright. He hurriedly flew in and carried Su Luo to rush out. He ran several hundred meters in succession, before halting his footsteps. The violent sound of a house collapsing even drew Xian out. Little junior sister, this house. Xian looked at the house that had collapsed into rubble, and was immediately flabbergasted. Master had secretly reinforced little junior sister's courtyard. Oh, just what kind of attack would smash it so thoroughly? Now Su Luo was carried in Nangong Luoyun's arms, and she foolishly and blankly watched everything in front of her eyes. Only when Xian's voice sounded, did she awaken, and her thoughts returned to reality. Su Luo looked at Xian, then again lifted her head to look at Nangong Luoyun. Nangong Luoyun's forehead that was as clear and bright as jade was a little bit red. All of a sudden, Su Luo couldn't bear it and started to laugh uproariously. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Chapter 10-12. Traveling to Xian's Wood Residence 6. Hearing Su Luo bursting out laughter, an embarrassed color appeared on Nangong Luoyun's face. Stomach. Hurts. Ha ha ha. Su Luo, who was being held by Nangong Luoyun, laughed so hard her stomach nearly cramped up. If she was lying on a bed, she'd be rolling around with laughter. At that time, our poor His Highness Prince Jean was not only being made fun of, he also had to help the future Princess Jean, who laughed until she couldn't breathe, to rub her stomach that was aching because she laughed too much. Is it a little better? Nangong Luoyun looked at Su Luo at a loss. Su Luo clasped her belly, choked back her laughter, and nodded her head earnestly. Xian, who was on the side, inserted a sentence in a timely manner. Little junior sister, how did this house collapse? After you left, Master specifically placed a matrix spell, so that not even an 8th or 9th rank's attacks could destroy it. Su Luo's abdomen shook. Clearly she was extremely uncomfortable from holding back the laughter. Xian once again circled around the house that collapsed in puzzlement. He frowned while walking. How could it have started to collapse from the doorframe? Su Luo worked so hard to stifle it, but with Xian's earnest appearance of probing for the actual facts made it so Su Luo couldn't restrain it anymore. With a pft sound she couldn't help but to howl with laughter once again. While she laughed she also hammered on Nangong Liuyun's strong and perfect chest. Too funny, it was really too funny. Su Luo couldn't stop the tears from laughing so hard. Right now, Nangong Liuyun's entire face was black. He coughed once gloomily. Xian also not so discreetly walked closer. Little junior sister, why are you laughing? Does this mean you know the truth? Nangong Liuyun's face was so black that water could drip out. He coldly reprimanded. Shut up. Nangong Liuyun with a gloomy face, his entire body emitted a coldness that prevented a stranger from approaching. Xian quieted down immediately, stood in place, staring blankly not daring to take another step forward. He was also not stupid. He could guess some of it from the Su Luo's meaningful winks. A man who flew into a rage from humiliation was not scary, but a 10th-ranked strong expert shamed into anger was absolutely terrifying to the extreme. As a result, Xian earnestly sent off Nangong Liuyun with his eyes as he left holding Su Luo. Only his body was trembling because of trying to stifle the laughter, so it was spasming. Nangong Liuyun's beautiful sharp eyebrows knit, face inviolably stern. Su Luo saw him like this and started to laugh again. Is it that funny? Nangong Liuyun's eyebrows were knotted. MHM. Su Luo pursed her lips and nodded her head hurriedly. Yua. Nangong Liuyun placed Su Luo the Western Wing's guest room, and extended a finger to tap her nose. The main house had collapsed, but the Western Wing was barely adequate for a person to enter. Nangong Liuyun, you're too cute. Su Luo pulled down his head. With a smack sound from a kiss she left a clear mark on his face. Nangong Liuyun was immediately struck dumb. After doing something so stupid, he still get this kind of treatment? Su Luo cupped his flawlessly handsome face and sighed emotionally. I Su Luo, by what virtues and abilities did I make you fall in love with me? Luo. Nangong Liuyun's eyes, which were cold as millennium-old snow, now shone with starlight speckles of happiness and joy. Nangong Liuyun, you are mine. Su Luo branded his lips with hers. Seal done, cannot back out. The smile at the corner of Nangong Liuyun's lips flowed over. His heart was stuffed full of happiness, not allowing anything else to squeeze in. Okay, I am yours. Nangong Liuyun nodded his head obediently, like a docile fierce-looking tiger. Later on the outside, you are not allowed to fool around. Su Luo scowled coldly, seizing this opportunity to take the city, establishing an unfair but favorable to her clause in this agreement. Chapter 10-13. Traveling to Xian's Wood Residence 7. When it comes to love, the more you loved, the more passive you were, and vice versa. So in this war of love, Su Luo held absolute power and authority. Nangong Liuyun smiled from ear to ear and nodded his head. This king wants only you alone. There is still that Li Yaoyao, you deal with it properly. Su Luo gave a heavy snort. Just how much trouble had this Li Yaoyao brought Su Luo? At the heart of this matter was Nangong Liuyun, this source of calamity. Nangong Liuyun raised his hand and swore. I will definitely deal with it properly, I have to. From the moment she hurt his family's treasured Luo girl, she had taken the road to her death with no way back. Seeing Su Luo thinking with her head tilted and those round eyes turning in circles, Nangong Liuyun felt that his family's treasured Luo girl was too adorable. What other conditions do you have? Tell me all of it now. Nangong Liuyun curiously and generously waved his hand. For the time being I haven't thought of it. Su Luo thought about it for a really long time, but still couldn't come up with anything. It was all because Nangong Liuyun had always spoiled and pampered her to the extreme since the beginning, making it impossible for her to find a bone to pick with him. The two people confided to each other. This was the first time they both had clearly expressed their own feelings to each other. After the confessions, the vague, hazy and blurred feelings were finally certain. Luo, Let's get married after returning from Xian's Wood residence, okay? Nangong Luyan gazed at her determinately with deep emotions. His beautiful eyes were full of expectations. He had never wished for nor hoped for that day to come as much as now. Was Nangong Luyan proposing to her right now? Su Luo's body was startled as she stared blankly. She looked at him somewhat in disbelief. Isn't it a bit too fast? Su Luo's brain short-circuited. They had just figured out their feelings, and to get married now? Wasn't it a bit too fast? Nangong Luyan thought that Su Luo was unwilling, so he didn't make it difficult for her. He smilingly stroked her soft hair and said, "Everything will be done according to your wishes, as long as you're always by this king's side." Then this king had nothing else he wanted to ask for. How difficult was it for Nangong Luyan to say these words? In his entire life, only with Su Luo would he be so sincere and held nothing back. "We will always, always be together." Su Luo saw the slight disappointment deep in his eyes. Finally, she still nodded her head. "Okay, once we return from Xian's Wood residence, we'll get married." But the 9 different palaces in the Xian's Wood residence was famous for how difficult it was to challenge them. So to pass all 9 challenges was even more difficult. Could they really obtain the scarlet blood Ningpo figwort? Could it really fix her broken body? Everything was still uncertain. While chatting, because Su Luo's body didn't have enough physical strength to continue, her eyes closed tightly, and she sank into deep sleep. Nangong Luyan sat on the bed, tenderly and carefully caressed her hair. "Luo Luo, believe in me, everything will get better." His tone was as steady as a boulder. "No matter what, I will have you cured." Nangong Luoyun's determination was exceptionally firm. A night without speaking. Early morning the next day, with the first glimmer of dawn's light, Rong Yun appeared inside the room. "This is 100 vitality pills." Master Rong Yun took out a palm-sized white jade bottle from his sleeve and handed it over to Su Luo. "Master, this..." Su Luo was somewhat stunned. These were Grandmaster grade vitality pills. Just take one of this out would make the strong experts fight over it. But now her family's beautiful teacher had given her a whole bottle. With regards to his esteemed person, these vitality pills like a bottle of jelly beans, right? Before that bottle didn't have much, but now, this bottle had a total of 100 pills. Chapter 10-14. Traveling to Xian's Wood residence 8. Rong Yun was as indifferent as the wind, and he stood there with his hands clasped behind his back, his white silk robe flowing gracefully in the wind. He had a faint worried expression on his face. "This trip to Xian's Wood residence is very far away. Your body is still too weak." Rong Yun turned his gaze towards Nangong Luyan, with a serious expression that was imposing and reserved, said, "Now I have entrusted Luo Luo to you. If she has so much as a tiny mishap when you return, humph." Nangong Luoyun's luxurious fiery red velvet robe made him appear distinguished, domineering, demonically charming and enigmatic. His cold black eyes were as coldly remote as a deep pool, and with his light pink-colored thin lips pulled into a straight line, he coldly vowed, "Whoever dares to hurt Luo Luo will need to tread over my dead body." The usually scheming and far-sighted His Highness Prince Jean was this courageous and ruthless. He raised his dignified head arrogantly, appearing absolutely dominant. Rong Yun only gave a faint hum, and did not say anything else. A promise between men only required a tacitly understood meaningful glance. The inherent arrogance and nobility make it hard for people like him to get off their high horse, and to swear such a vow to keep a promise. But Nangong Luyan accomplished this point for Su Luo. It was already remarkable enough. "Then go." Rong Yun waved his hand. When his beautiful eyes looked towards Su Luo, it flashed. "Well then, master, we will be going." Su Luo, who was wrapped in Nangong Luoyun's arms, waved her hand in a reluctant-to-leave manner. Rong Yun nodded his head in an amiable manner. So pure and cold, like a remote and aloof god. The summit of Cloud Mist Peak, the gentle wind blew at the corner of his robes, making it flutter in the wind. His expression was so enigmatic that no one could understand it. Watching as Nangong Luyan carried Su Luo down the mountain, until only a tiny black dot was visible, a trace of worry appeared in Rong Yun's eyes. Xian's Wood residence was in the north, a place in the extreme north. Nangong Luoyan carried a map Rongyan had given him. On this journey, in order to give Su Luo a steady place to rest, Nangong Luoyan brought his dragon-scaled horse along. The horse carriage went around the Huan Mountains, through the territory of the northern Mo, and continued all the way northwards. Now it was already early winter. The north was usually a bitterly cold place. In this season, it had already gradually started to become cold. When they were exiting northern Mo, Nangong Luoyan had bought a bunch of winter clothing for Su Luo. Fox fur, wolf fur, leopard fur, very thick woolen and velvet blanket, a very thick tent and so on. These things were all neatly stored in his space bag. No matter how cold the day, he was completely unaffected, but his Luo Luo couldn't stand the slightest blow from the wind, and couldn't deal with even a little bit of cold. Originally, His Highness Prince Xian, who had always been waited upon, when had he ever done things to take care of somebody else? But circumstances could indeed temper a person. The current Nangong Luoyan took very proper care of Su Luo, not missing a single detail. Having traveled for about another 10 days, the weather gradually turned cold. Heavy snow fell from the sky. Su Luo's fragile body was wrapped tightly in fox fur. A thick leopard fur hat covered her head, only exposing a pair of beautiful pitch-black eyes. That pair of eyes, in the middle of a snowstorm, looked even more clear in contrast, clear as water. The sky gradually darkened. Nangong Luoyan found a place with a huge boulder blocking the wind, and set up the tent. He then spread out a thick soft fleece blanket, and only then did he carry Su Luo from the carriage and into the tent. "I can walk by myself." Su Luo protested quietly. Ever since receiving such heavy injuries, her foot hasn't touched the ground. She was always carried by Nangong Luoyan from here to there. Nangong Luoyan's dark eyebrows rose slightly, but he reproached in all seriousness. "Look at your body. How can you walk by yourself? What if you fall?" Only heaven knew how much he enjoyed so openly and honorably hugging her warm and sweet self to his chest. He wouldn't exchange it for all the things in the world. Chapter 10:15. Traveling to Xian's wood residence. 9. Su Luo was carried into the warm tent. Then he used a thick cloak to wrap tightly around Su Luo again, who already had another layer that bound her into a cocoon. Su Luo had no other choice. She turned her pale face up and said in a small grumbling voice, "So hot." Nangong Luoyan kept a straight face, his serious tone penetrated with pampering accents. "Just like this, your body cannot handle any cold. Unless you want to keep on coughing nonstop like before?" The matter from before, whenever Nangong Luoyan recalled it, he still had lingering fears. After the first snow, the sun shone brightly. Su Luo, this girl, took off her fur clothing, but with a light gust of wind, she got a serious chill and started coughing nonstop. Nangong Luoyan carried her around northern Mo City in search of a doctor. In the end, our ruthless Highness Prince Xian directly kidnapped the imperial physician. After taking medicine for several days, Su Luo eventually got a little better. But this incident left Nangong Luoyan with a hard-to-erase feeling of remorse. Ever since, he watched over Su Luo very strictly, spoiling her like a wife and a daughter. However, if it concerned Su Luo's body, he refused to yield an inch and was very obstinate about it. Su Luo also remembered that incident, so she didn't persist. She merely laid on the soft mattress, smilingly watched Nangong Luoyan as he bustled about. His Highness Prince Xian, the embodiment of 5 great men, what was he so busy doing? The well-read and intelligent His Highness Prince Xian. Usually with a wave of his hand, a person's head would drop to the ground. The always brilliant in determining the outcome of his battles from afar, that His Highness Prince Xian was now in the process of cleaning his hand and making Su Luo some soup. Normally, in this kind of weather he could hunt a prey, then roast it over a fire, smear on a layer of chili paste and cumin on top. This was the quickest and most convenient meal. Only, how could he let the injured Su Luo eat this kind of coarse food? Our Highness Prince Xian was determined not to allow it. At this time, Nangong Luoyan had already set up a wooden frame, with a small cooking pot hanging from it. Inside the little iron pot was full of top-quality rice that gave off an alluring fragrance. Along the way, Nangong Luoyan, who had never set foot in a kitchen, had been trained to have a great set of cooking skills. Because Su Luo was a picky eater, She could tell if those foods had a pinch too much salt, or lacking a single Sichuan peppercorn. Under the iron pot, the fire burned just right. In the iron pot, the rice congee cooked neither too slow nor too fast. With the sun setting in the west, a curtain of darkness gradually descended. Soon, the world seemed to be covered with a fine black gauze, so misty things couldn't be seen through clearly. The snowstorm also gradually died down, leaving the surroundings terrifyingly quiet. The rice congee finished boiling, and Nangong Luyan took out a delicate porcelain bowl, spooning a small bowl of congee. He then let Su Luo cup the bowl with her hands to drink slowly. It's not bad. Su Luo nodded her head in satisfaction. Nangong Liuyun's pair of pitch-black dark eyes immediately looked like the stars in the night sky, sparkling brightly. As long as you like it, that's good. Nangong Luyan said in gratification. However, the expression on his face suddenly turned cold for a moment. Su Luo, seeing he was displeased, asked him in confusion, "What's wrong?" Nangong Luyan smilingly patted her head. "It's nothing, merely some people with too much time on their hands. There's no need to pay them any heed." Nangong Luyan said it offhandedly, but Su Luo didn't consider it to be that way. In this season, braving the snowstorm to go all the way to the extreme north. How could it be just any ordinary people? Amidst Su Luo's bewilderment, two silhouettes appeared in front of them. One was leading. One could see him dressed in a blue robe that danced lightly in the wind. He had dashing eyebrows and sparkling eyes on a handsome outstanding face. His facial features were gentle and educated, but did not lose the strength of a man. Chapter 10:16. Traveling to Xian's wood residence. 10. A young lady stood next to him. This girl wore a golden silk dress. She was clear as ice and clean as jade, just like a fairy. She had a pair of sparkling and clear, jade-like eyes. Her skin was like congealed amber, white but penetrated through with a touch of pink. Her smile was fresh and touching, so beautiful that people would be infatuated. When she saw this young lady, Su Luo's hands that was holding the porcelain bowl paused slightly. The Jade Lake's fairy. Why would she be here? Li Yaoyao recognized Nangong Luyan in one glance. Without being called over, she automatically approached close to him on her own. "Third senior brother, such a coincidence to actually encounter you here." Li Yaoyao usually had an aloof and cold face. When she saw Nangong Luyan, it lit up like the fireworks in March, so bright and dazzling. Nangong Liuyun's sharp eyebrows nodded coldly. He did not forget the agreement he had made with Su Luo from before. Among them, Li Yaoyao was a typical example. Her name was specially pointed out and warned against. Li Yaoyao's smiling expression was sweet-tempered and amiable, as if all the previous unpleasantness had vanished completely. "Third senior brother, it smells really delicious. Did you personally make this congee?" Li Yaoyao acted as if no one else was present, stepping close to Nangong Liuyun's side in an intimate and enthusiastic manner. It was as if their relationship was very intimate. Nangong Luyan frowned. He carried Su Luo and took a step away from her. Li Yaoyao's expression darkened slightly, but very quickly, her fighting spirit was once again ignited. "Ah, third senior brother, who are you carrying?" A sharp light flashed through Li Yaoyao's eyes. It was because Su Luo was bundled up like a small plump bear, and the hat on her head hung very low, nearly blocking her whole face. In addition to the illumination right now being low, so Li Yaoyao momentarily didn't recognize her. Nangong Luyan scanned her with his eyes in annoyance. With a brittle, cold tone, he said straightforwardly, "You're not welcomed here." Li Yaoyao's body suddenly stiffened for a bit. She looked like she wanted to sob from being wronged, almost about to cry but did not cry, appearing extremely pitiful. The man behind her came forward and was about to say something, but was stopped by Li Yaoyao. Li Yaoyao looked at Nangong Luyan and forced herself to look happy. "Third senior brother, the matter before, Yaoyao was wrong. Yaoyao knows she is wrong." Nangong Liuyun's eyebrows nodded even more deeply, because now that little gal in his arms, precisely that Su Luo, who looked like a small plump bear, had just pinched the meat on Nangong Liuyun's lean waist. "Enough, knowing you were wrong is your thing, whether I forgive or not is my thing." Nangong Luoyun impatiently waved his hand and turned around, wanting to put the troublesome little gal in his arms back into the tent. At this time, having heard what he said, Li Yaoyao's beautiful complexion became increasingly pale, and her body seemed to be on the verge of collapse. She quickly stepped up to Nangong Luoyun, reaching out to pull him to a stop. Third senior brother, how could you be like this? In which place am I not better when compared to that Su Luo? Two distinct teardrops rolled down Li Yaoyao's eyes. Never mind the rest, at least, I look 100 times better than her, right? How could it be that you refuse even to glance at me? However, before her hands could even touch Nangong Luoyun's robe, one could see him pulled a distance away from her, so she came up empty. Previously, third senior brother was so close and intimate with her, now he refused to even look at her. He wouldn't even let her get close to him? Once she thought about these changes, Li Yaoyao felt extremely wronged, her eye sockets filling with tears. Why? Li Yaoyao yelled bitterly in anger. Third senior brother, why did our relationship change to be like this? I'm not reconciled, really not reconciled. From when she started to understand stuff, she was determined it would be third senior brother. She had firmly believed he would ride on the dragon-scaled horse as the groom to escort her marriage litter. However, why did it now change to be like this? Chapter 10:17. Traveling to Xian's Wood Residence 11. How is Su Luo better than me? Is she as gifted as me? Can she advance in cultivation faster than me? Is her family background better than mine? Is she prettier than me? Li Yaoyao yelled out in a row while crying at the same time. To lose to her, I really am not reconciled, extremely unreconciled. Nangong Luoyun's fists clenched tightly. His Luo Luo was the best girl in this entire world. Li Yaoyao couldn't even be compared to one of her fingernails. How could she have the face to rant so loudly here? As a result, Our Highness Prince Jean sent a confused glance at Li Yaoyao, his voice cold as ice, lacking a trace of emotion. You are not reconciled. What does it have to do with me? You are not reconciled. What does it have to do with me? These few simple and clear words coldly and ruthlessly shut Li Yaoyao out completely. In the world of emotions, complete indifference hurt people the most. Now Nangong Luoyun, without holding back in the least, displayed his indifference and complete lack of regard for her feelings. Li Yaoyao's figure swayed, tottering on the verge of collapsing. The man who was behind her had his eyebrows knotted tightly. He looked at Nangong Luoyun with displeasure. Third junior brother, you have changed. Nangong Luoyun's indifferent gaze shot toward Situ Ming. This matter doesn't concern you. Nangong Luoyun frowned. Situ Ming was Nangong Luoyun's and Li Yaoyao's fellow student under the same teacher, ranked second. Normally he was warm and friendly, calm and controlled. He was always respected among teachers' fellow brother and sister students. Third junior brother, no matter what is said, Yaoyao is still your fellow junior sister that grew up with you. Your words and behavior right now make a person feel bitterly disappointed. Situ Ming expressed his displeasure. When he said this sentence, Situ Ming's gaze coldly shot towards Nangong Luoyun's arms. Su Luo was bundled up tightly so Situ Ming couldn't see her clearly. However, instinctively, he didn't like the girl in third junior brother's arms. How sharp and perceptive was Nangong Luoyun's senses. With just one glance from Situ Ming, he knew the other side didn't like Su Luo. His Luo Luo, he wanted to spoil and pamper her to the point of giving her the entire world to play with. But now his second senior brother unexpectedly didn't like Luo Luo. Our Highness Prince Jean wasn't happy, and his anger naturally was drawn towards Li Yaoyao's body. When words are sour, saying more is useless. We'll leave. Nangong Luoyun said coldly. If right now Li Yaoyao wasn't carrying the Jade Lake's palace's key, and Situ Ming didn't have the Purgatory City's key on his body, based on His Highness Prince Jin's arrogance, he wouldn't let them go so easily. However, when His Highness Prince Jean retreated half a step, the other side seemed to have no intention of retreating. Instead, they inched closer. Li Yaoyao's attention was all directed at the plump girl in Nangong Luoyun's arms. Who is she? Li Yaoyao's body didn't move, but a thread of blame was audible in her voice. Why didn't she ponder a bit? What right did she have to criticize Nangong Luoyun for carrying another woman in his arms? Situming also didn't leave. He stood firmly by Li Yaoyao's side, becoming her strongest support. From childhood to adult, Situming was like an older brother, unconditionally forgiving, indulging and spoiling Li Yaoyao. Because from the very early in the beginning, he had started to like her. Because Li Yaoyao liked Nangong Luyin, the magnanimous Situming voluntarily conceded, and even gave his blessing in a heartfelt manner. But one day, Li Yaoyao cried while telling him that Nangong Luyin didn't want her, and he was snatched away by another woman. In Situming's eyes, this otherworldly and uncommon Jade Lake's fairy was like a goddess to him. How could he allow his goddess to be wronged? Even if Nangong Luyin was the junior brother he thought most highly of, however, compared to his goddess, how could a junior brother's worth be comparable? Chapter 10:18. Sudden change in travel plans. 1. As a result, when Li Yaoyao asked him to accompany her to Xian's wood residence, Situming agreed on the spot. Nangong, who are you carrying in your arms? Seeing that Nangong Luyin only coldly sneered at Li Yaoyao's question, Situming frowned and immediately followed with another questioning sentence. Situming was smart. He could somewhat guess at who Nangong Luyin was carrying in his arms. Li Yaoyao also stared at Nangong Luyin anxiously. Nangong Luyin's arms that was wrapped around Su Luo tightened some more, his eyebrows furrowing even deeper. His Luo girl right now was so weak, she couldn't be subjected to even a bit of grievance. Nangong Luyin's speaking speed wasn't slow nor fast, but still sounded chilly and threatening. You guys don't need to know, nor do you have the qualification to know. A touch of annoyance slipped past Situming's face. Although before third junior brother was cold and detached, he would never be this rude. In the end, who was in his arms that would make him this nervous? Li Yaoyao, because she had Situming's support, took a few steps to walk to the front of Nangong Luyin. Her sharp gaze stared at the figure in his arms. Su Luo faintly sighed in her heart. That pair of eyes was sharp as cold blades, as if they could penetrate through the heavy fur to shoot straight into her heart. Being provoked like this, if Su Luo continued to be like an ostrich seeking protection in Nangong Luyin's arms, then what qualification did she have to stand shoulder to shoulder with Nangong Luyin? Let alone it was in front of Li Yaoyao. Su Luo's jet black eyes shone slightly, a sharp ray of light flashing past without notice. Su Luo moved her hand and pulled down her furry hat, revealing an ill but unearthly beautiful face. Seeing this suffocatingly beautiful face, Li Yaoyao felt her throat clog up as she subconsciously took half a step back. This person. One could only see these exceptionally beautiful delicate facial features, especially that pair of eyes, so watery and moving. That very elastic skin was sparkling and translucent as snow, delicate like fine porcelain, with qualities that was out of this world, elegant like a fairy. Li Yaoyao had always bragged that she was the most beautiful woman in the world, but having seen this face, she suddenly felt unworthy and inferior. Such a familiar face, especially that pair of eyes, dazzling like a sharp sword, glittering as if she could see clearly into people's heart. These clearly were Su Luo's eyes. But this face. An intense sense of uneasiness struck her. Li Yaoyao only felt as if the world was spinning, her vision blurred, her entire body trembled. Who are you in the end? Li Yaoyao held on to that last thread of hope. No, it can't be her. Absolutely cannot be Su Luo, that little slut. Last time, she only had a hasty glance at Fairy Yanxia's place. In the gloomy light, she couldn't see clearly. But now their eyes met. She could clearly see every detail on Su Luo's face. Li Yaoyao's pair of hands clenched tightly into fists. Her pair of eyes stared fixedly, with rapt attention while holding her breath, finding it hard to believe. Su Luo was calm and naturally relaxed. She repeatedly laughed shallowly, so graceful and subdued, allowing Li Yaoyao to look. Miss Li, long time no see, you actually didn't recognize me? Su Luo's eyes were calm and peaceful, with a perfectly composed expression. Hearing this familiar voice, Li Yaoyao could only feel her heart tremble. Her eyes opened wide from disbelief, her whole body starting to tremble, both of her fists clenched even tighter. The last time, Miss Li was corroded by a strong acid. Now you don't look any different, really fortunate oh. Su Luo laughed gracefully and generously. Li Yaoyao tightly bit down on her lower lip, nearly drawing blood. If she still couldn't recognize who the person in front of her was, then she could immediately go and hit herself against a wall. Su Luo. It actually really was that slut. How did she become so pretty, so beautiful, so devastatingly gorgeous, so exquisitely noble? Chapter 1019. Sudden change in travel plans too. Su Luo, you really are the person that old witch was looking for. Li Yaoyao fumed with rage between gritted teeth. Jealousy. Her eyes were filled with crazed jealousy. Only, it was a great pity that that old witch had already died. Otherwise, she could have used her to get rid of Su Luo. Su Luo's eyes roamed around, her lips curling into a sneer. That's right, who my mother is you might also have known? Su Luo's mother back then was a goddess-like majesty of renown in the world. Who didn't know her? Who didn't let her be known? Her Majesty Yanhua, with a wave of her hands, ships would turn to ashes and smoke. With a command from her, countless number of strong experts would follow her through hell and high water. At that time, she was the leader of the entire continent, with numerous followers. How could a small Jade Lakesley family contend against her? Su Luo's words were like a sharp sword, stabbing deeply into Li Yaoyao's chest. Just now, she had loudly shouted, being unconvinced, that she was prettier than Su Luo. The result was her feeling inferior. Just now, her heart was unreconciled, and she boasted about her strong background. But now, her entire Jade Lakesley family couldn't be compared to even one of Su Luo mom's finger. Li Yaoyao choked on her own words. Momentarily, she stood in place, stumped for words. Her chest moved up and down violently. However, she was so distracted that she couldn't even utter a word. At this moment, Situ Ming stared at Su Luo's appearance. His shock wasn't less than Li Yaoyao's. Master had always carried a small human-shaped wood carving with him. He had seen it once by accident. That face was exactly the same as the face of this lady in front of him. Master treated that wooden carving like his greatest treasure. Before, someone from another sect accidentally saw it, and Master dug out his eyes. Master was normally kind, but as long as matters touches upon that wooden carving, he would change into a completely different person. Insane, stubbornly biased, unreasonable. Now this girl in front of him had the exact same face as the wooden carving. Situ Ming's face suddenly became gloomy then clear, his deep gaze unfathomable, with a complicated expression. Nobody knew what he was thinking of. Nangong Luyan was unhappy. He took the thick warm hat and placed it back on Su Luo's head. His reproachful tone carried traces of spoiling flavor. Who told you to take it off? What if you catch a cold? Su Luo stuck out her tongue and smiled while revealing 2 dimples. Am I really that delicate? How healthy do you think you are now? Nangong Luyan poked at her bright and clean forehead. Didn't Miss Li insist on knowing who I was since the beginning? If I don't let her look, then she won't give up. Su Luo rubbed against Nangong Liuyun's chest, like a languid kitten. The 2 people talked as if no other person was present, but it made Li Yaoyao's face become stiff. Damn it! Were they putting on a display of affection in front of her? Would they die if they didn't flaunt it? Li Yaoyao was so furious that she nearly spit out blood. But in just the blink of an eye, Su Luo, who she had originally looked down upon like dirt, changed shape in a single shake, from that ugly duckling to a graceful white swan. Not only had her appearance changed, there was also her whole new terrifying identity and background. All of this made Li Yaoyao deeply jealous of her. In front of her, everything clearly stated that Nangong Luyan and Su Luo was a perfect heavenly pair. Simply a match made in heaven. As for her, she looked just like a bouncing clown with her own wishful thinking. Was she going to give up just like this? Li Yaoyao's heart was filled with sadness. No, absolutely not. An unwavering determined light flashed through Li Yaoyao's eyes. From childhood till now, her mind was set on Nangong Luyan. Without him, what meaning did the endless road of life have for her in the future? Therefore, no matter how bitter or how tiring, she would never give up. Li Yaoyao took a deep breath, and was thus able to dislodge that unpleasantness in her chest. Chapter 1020. Sudden change in travel plans 3. She squeezed out a smile with that broad smile on her face. She turned to Su Luo and said, "When Miss Su was expelled from Su Manor, at that time, I even felt sorry for you. But it turned out that Miss Su is from Her Majesty Yan Hua's bloodline. Congratulations, congratulations." Su Luo's eyes narrowed slightly. Li Yaoyao had changed. The originally cold and arrogant Li Yaoyao, who disdained and was contemptuous of other people, had now become smooth and slick, knowing when to strike to have everything go her way. The cold and arrogant Li Yaoyao was easy to handle, because she had principles and a bottom line. But the her right now had changed a lot. How to be unequaled in the entire world. So she would be invincible. Li Yaoyao simply didn't have any principles or a bottom line now. She pursued Nangong Luoyun in a bigot manner, completely disregarding her reputation. This kind of person was the worst to deal with. However, Su Luo was only a little more guarded in her heart. Su Luo laughed indifferently. "Miss Li really felt sorry for me? Why is it that I heard back then, when Su Xian expelled me from Su Manor, it was because of Miss Li's orders?" Li Yaoyao's face didn't change. She shook her head. "Miss Su is mistaken. How could it be my doing? This is absolutely impossible." Su Luo gave a sneer, and she leaned against Nangong Luoyun's chest, disinclined to pay more attention to her. Now Li Yaoyao already had no shame to speak off. Flaunting her snappy retorts was meaningless. Why should she waste any more precious strength to argue with her? Especially since the man Li Yaoyao wanted the most was holding her. The victor ought to be a bit more tolerant towards the loser. As a result, Su Luo laughed a little and rubbed herself against Nangong Luoyun's chest again. An exceptional man, Nangong Luoyun immediately asked lovingly and with deep concern, "Girl, what's wrong? Are you not comfortable?" His gaze was worried and anxious, his mood nervous and uneasy. Li Yaoyao did not hesitate to sacrifice her life to have him turn back to glance at her, but Nangong Luoyun's entire heart was fastened on Su Luo's body. He became endlessly nervous because of one light cough from her. Su Luo contemptibly swept Li Yaoyao a glance, both hands wrapping familiarly around Nangong Luoyun's neck. Li Yaoyao bit tightly down on her lower lip, with eyes that nearly spit out a raging flame. "Moi." Su Luo pulled Nangong Luoyun's head down and placed a firm kiss on his face. Nangong Luoyun was startled. Then he immediately smiled in a dim-witted manner. This was Luo Luo's way of declaring her sovereignty over him to the outside world. How could Nangong Luoyun not be happy? Li Yaoyao felt so much hatred that she nearly broke her gums from biting down. With her fists clenched firmly, the sound of bones popping could clearly be heard. Li Yaoyao took a deep breath. She must remain cool-headed. If she let herself be led by the nose by Su Luo, that slut, third senior brother, would become more and more estranged with her. Li Yaoyao's eyes darted around randomly. Very quickly, she noticed the iron pot hanging above a wooden frame. In the iron pot, the high-quality rice was boiled into congee, emitting an alluring fragrance. After a difficult day on the road, just how pleasurable was it to eat a mouthful of warm congee? Li Yaoyao very quickly changed the topic. "Has Miss Su finished eating dinner?" An empty delicate porcelain bowl was over there, probably left by Su Luo. The corners of Su Luo's mouth pulled up. "Miss Li hasn't eaten yet?" Su Luo immediately could see through Li Yaoyao's intentions. Li Yaoyao had her intentions placed on the congee, right? Sure enough, Li Yaoyao sat down in Nangong Luoyun's original position and reached for the empty bowl. "When we were little, the sweet potatoes third senior brother roasted were very fragrant and sweet. I didn't expect that the congee he cooked would be so fragrant as well." Li Yaoyao rudely helped herself and ladled out some congee. A trace of annoyance flashed across Su Luo's face. Chapter 10:21. Sudden change in travel plans. For, if it was anything else, she definitely wouldn't be so stingy. But this congee was personally cooked by Nangong Luoyun. It was made with love. How could she share it with other people? Let alone that other person being her love rival Li Yaoyao? Situ Ming looked at Li Yaoyao, then glanced at Nangong Luoyun again. He laughed shallowly and lifted up his robe to take a seat next to Li Yaoyao. "Traveling through the wind and snow for a day. I really am somewhat tired. Since third junior brother has already eaten, then we are picking up some conveniences with this congee. Traveling outside, to be able to eat some hot congee, is really a kind of pleasure on its own. Situ Ming's smile was clear and shallow while carrying a hint of criticism. Third junior brother, these things should be done by the female. Doing it yourself really is beneath a man's dignity. Saying this, his gaze unhurriedly swept Su Luo a glance. Su Luo, with the identity of being a descendant of the goddess, gave birth to restrained fear in his heart. She also gave birth to an indescribable loathing in his heart. This Situ Ming, was he scolding her indirectly? Su Luo's eyebrows furrowed slightly, but before she could react, Nangong Luyan had already made his move. Crack! A clear and crisp sound echoed. The porcelain bowl full of kanji that was in Li Yaoyao's hands actually cracked in following the sound. The kanji splattered over her pink skirt, staining it, making her look exceedingly disheveled. Li Yaoyao's eyes opened wide in disbelief. Third senior brother actually wouldn't even give her a mouthful of kanji to eat. Boo-hoo. Li Yaoyao's eyes immediately turned red. Sparkling clear tears rolled around in her eye sockets as if she wanted to cry, looking exceedingly pitiful. Situ Ming suddenly stood up. His eyes were deeply cold as he glared at Nangong Luyan. His entire body emitted flames of wrath. Nangong Luyan, you went over the line. Situ Ming was always a gentle and good person. This was the first time he used such a serious tone to reproach Nangong Luyan. Second senior brother, this doesn't concern you. Nangong Luyan frowned in annoyance. Second senior brother didn't have any bad intentions. It's just that his two eyes had been deceived, unable to distinguish right from wrong. Nangong Luyan was also too lazy to explain it to him. Second senior brother, boo-hoo, you don't, it's my own problem. Li Yaoyao cried like raindrops on pear blossoms, inciting people to take pity on her. Her crying like this completely stirred up Situ Ming's tender and protective feelings for the fairer sex. Situ Ming pulled Li Yaoyao a few steps to walk in front of Nangong Luyan, his gaze giving off a piercing cold light. Nangong, you look clearly, she is Yaoyao. She is your childhood sweetheart that grew up with you. She had entrusted the rest of her life to you, treating you as a close relative. Now because of some random girl, you actually treat Yaoyao like this, you simply are unreasonable. Nangong Liuyun's phoenix eyes narrowed, the corners of his mouth pulling into a cold and cruel sneer. Although he was smiling, his smile didn't reach his eyes. Those indifferent eyes reflected a gloomy cold light. Nangong Luyun slowly placed Su Luo on the ground. With a warm gentle smile, he tightened the collar of Su Luo's clothing, and lifted an eyebrow in a demonically charming manner. Be obedient and stand here, okay? Su Luo's eyes had a complicated expression. Based on her understanding of Nangong Luyan, this guy was really angry now. Usually the more languid, the more refined and cultivated he was, the scarier he would be when he exploded. Nangong. Su Luo pulled at his hand. At one glance, it could be seen that Situ Ming's strength wasn't ordinary. Also, they studied under the same teacher. The matter of brothers from the same teacher destroying each other, no matter whose body it occurred on, it still was not a good thing. Su Luo was somewhat depressed. Could it be she really was a femme fatale? Be obedient. You must believe that your man is unrivaled in this world. There's no one who can harm him. Nangong Liuyun's smile was warm and intoxicating, like the cherry blossoms in March, resplendent and dazzling. Chapter 1022, Sudden Change in Travel Plans 5. After taking care of Su Luo, Nangong Luyan took a step forward. At this moment, Nangong Liuyun's tall figure stood loftily upright. His arrogant, pitch-black eyes flashed with a unique sharp edge that looked down disdainfully at the whole world. His outline was cold and resolute. The outline of his jaw defined arrogance and nobility. He just stood like that, conceited and insufferably arrogant, as he cast sidelong glances at Situ Ming. His tone was indifferent and ice-cold. Just now, what did you say? Situ Ming's chest blocked up. What did he say? He merely asked Nangong not to wound Yaoyao for a random woman. Nangong Luyan grabbed Situ Ming by the collar, lifting him up. His eyes narrowed dangerously and warned him while clearly enunciating each word. Situ Ming, I respect you as my senior brother, so I'll forget about those words from just now. If there is a second time, don't blame me for becoming hostile. Now Nangong Liuyun's whole body emitted a furious aura, containing endless chilliness and harshness. Domineering and strong. Not tolerating another opinion. Insufferably arrogant. So cool. Simply awesome. If it wasn't for the fact that the current atmosphere was unsuitable, Su Luo would have even wanted to whistle. Her Nangong really was simply too cool. Even when he was emitting a furious aura, he was still so cool as to defy nature. Situ Ming was clearly scared stiff by Nangong Luoyun. The expression on his face was very complicated. There was wrath, there was helplessness, but mostly, it was disbelief. He completely didn't expect that third junior brother could speak such heartless words. Nangong Liuyun's dark pupils were sharp as a hawk's, completely relentless. He threw aside Situ Ming, turned around to carry Su Luo, and left with large strides. Third senior brother, how could you treat second senior brother like this? How could you treat us like this? Li Yaoyao wept beautifully, looking as if she had been extremely wronged. She rushed up, wanting to pull at Nangong Luoyun, but was swept back by a wave of his hand. Li Yaoyao. Nangong's whole body was covered in a layer of frost. His entire body was penetrated with chillness. He paused a bit and finally opened his mouth to say, "Don't think other people are all fools." Li Yaoyao momentarily stared blankly with a complexion that was pale as snow. Nangong Liuyun's star-like eyes were malicious as he indifferently gazed at Li Yaoyao. "Before those things you did to Luo Luo, don't assume I don't know." Under his murderous gaze, Li Yaoyao subconsciously took a step back. Her heart panicked and turned into a mess. Don't know what ought be done? She wanted to explain, yet with the words on the tip of her tongue, she discovered that she basically had no excuse. If there is a next time, I'll kill you without discussion. Nangong Luoyun, who had already entered the ranks of the exceptionally strong at 20 years old, absolutely had such confidence and aggressiveness. Li Yaoyao's entire person wasn't good. This was still the first time third senior brother had so clearly and simply expressed his loathing. His gaze was so sharp and coldly detached, cruel and heartless, absolutely without a touch of feelings remaining. Not only did he plainly and openly refuse her, he also warned her that by continuing, she'd lose her life. Li Yaoyao simply didn't need to act. Her tears immediately welled up like spring water, unable to be stopped. At this moment, she only felt cold water flow down from the top of her head, making her feel a cold that penetrated through to her heart and lungs. If, Li Yaoyao, choking with emotion, gazed at Nangong Luoyun with red-rimmed eyes. If I was truly to move against Su Luo, would you really kill me? Not only Li Yaoyao, but now, Situ Ming was also glaring at Nangong Luoyun with grief and indignation. Su Luo was also quietly gazing at Nangong Luoyun. From Su Luo's line of sight on the side, she could see Nangong Liuyun's handsome side profile. At this moment, the lines of his face were stretched taut, his face arrogant and ice-cold, with a solemn and very serious expression. Yes. Nangong Liuyun's answer was firm, straightforward, resolute and showed no quarter. Chapter 1023. Sudden change in travel plans. 6. Li Yaoyao's body swayed. Momentarily unable to stand still, she fell backwards. Situ Ming's eyes and hands were quick. He caught Li Yaoyao with one grab. Yaoyao. Yaoyao. Seeing Li Yaoyao with her eyes tightly closed, Situ Ming raised his eyes to glare at Nangong Luoyun with anger and bitterness. You've gone too far. She merely likes you, that's all. Nangong Luoyun coldly sneered. Likes? She likes me then. She can harm my Luo Luo? On one side was Li Yaoyao who had fainted from anger. The other side was his Luo Luo, who was placed at the tip of his heart. This treatment was really like the difference between the clouds and the mud. Situ Ming furiously roared. Nangong Luoyun, you and Li Yaoyao had grown up together since childhood. She's so kind-hearted. How could she possibly harm the girl in your arms? Nangong Luoyun cast a disdainful glance at Situ Ming. Second senior brother, your eyes are blind, but it does not mean mine are blind too. You. Situ Ming was angered in his heart, and it was full of bitterness. Su Luo shook her head, forcing a smile. Situ Ming's pair of eyes had been blinded by Li Yaoyao's sincere and kind-hearted exterior. If he knew that the first time Li Yaoyao saw her, she had dispatched a small group of subordinates to chase and kill her. Don't know if he would feel the despair of being disillusioned with his goddess. Nangong Luyan indifferently looked at Situming. On this journey, manage your junior sister well. Nangong Liuyun's pitch-black eyes were cold, pure and threatening. He was enveloped from head to toe in the dignity of a strong expert. Finished speaking, Nangong Luyan carried Su Luo and left with large strides. His embrace was warm like the spring, with steps steady like pine trees. The overbearingness on his body was the kind that caused a person to be intoxicated. Nangong Luyan completely pursued one principle. That was, to treat enemies mercilessly like the autumn wind sweeping away the fallen leaves, to treat one's love warmly like the spring. Nangong Luyan, who had just now given off a biting cold murderous air, after he entered the tent, he immediately transformed into a meek sheep. This pulls apart treatment. No wonder Li Yaoyao would directly faint from being angered. Be obedient, have a good night's sleep. Tomorrow, early in the morning, we still have to hasten on our way. Nangong Luyan gathered Su Luo's collar together and wrapped her into a ball. Su Luo's clear eyes gazed at him. Suddenly, she moved up and gave him a firm kiss on his face. Simultaneously, she gave him a thumbs up. Nangong Luyan, you are simply too wonderful. How fortunate was she that this lifetime, she could obtain this man's wholehearted love. To attack the rival in love was originally her duty. However, Nangong Luyan had taken on all the responsibility by himself, to avoid wasting a bit of her attention. This kind of man, even if he was placed in the entire world, he should still be one of a kind, right? Nangong Liuyun's pair of eyes glistened brightly, his sculpted facial features were bright as starlight. Praised by the one he loved, Nangong Liuyun's heart felt very sweet. His rubbed Su Luo's hair in a very good mood. Foolish girl, I have already said it before, this lifetime, I will not let you suffer a bit of harm. Even if it was verbal injury, he also absolutely would not allow it. But just now, you were truly heartless. You didn't leave her even a bit of feelings, no matter how you say it. You guys were still childhood sweethearts. Su Luo, smiling happily, said. This girl exemplified having gotten a small advantage and flaunting it. If he dared to be amiable to Li Yaoyao, it would be a wonder if this girl didn't get angry. Nangong's pitch-black eyes flickered like starlight. He raised his sword-like eyebrows. What childhood sweethearts? We weren't all that familiar. PFFF. Su Luo let out a laugh. This guy could seriously lie through his teeth. Humph humph, not very familiar? At that time on Sunset Mountain Range, who was it that tossed me aside into a magical beast stampede to turn around to save that something fairy? Su Luo unhesitantly dug up the old accounts. Chapter 1024. Sudden Change in Travel Plans 7. Nangong Luyan, a little embarrassed, touched his nose. However, he couldn't refute those words. The him of that time was like the current Situming, deceived by Li Yaoyao's exterior pureness and kind-heartedness. Seeing Nangong Luyan feeling embarrassed, Su Luo very generously waved her hand. Forget it, seeing that your behavior today was not bad. I'll forget that old account and write it off. Let bygones be bygones. Nangong Luyan embraced Su Luo. His strong figure covered hers as he heavily seized those alluring red lips of hers. The distance between the tent and the bonfire was really not that far. Su Luo and Nangong Luyan also didn't deliberately hide their dialogue. And all the ones present were also experts with high cultivation, with sharp ears and keen eyes. Thus Su Luo and Nangong Liuyun's dialogue was clearly transmitted to the outside. Under Situming's treatment, with great difficulty, Li Yaoyao regained consciousness. After hearing their dialogue, she nearly vomited out a mouthful of blood. Third senior brother actually said he was not very familiar with her. Not very familiar. Li Yaoyao's entire body felt unbalanced, lightheaded and extremely unwell. Yaoyao you. Situming's crystal-colored icy pupils showed a trace of deep concern. What are you planning to do? Nangong Liuyun's attitude was already very clear. Who he liked, who he loathed, he had already made it very clear. If they pestered him again, this? Li Yaoyao raised her palm-sized small face, and the rims of her eyes filled with tears. She imploringly gazed at Situming. Second senior brother, Don't tell me you also want me to give up? Li Yaoyao's eyelashes were jet black and thick, but were moistened with specks of sparkling and translucent dewdrops. Her appearance made people take pity on her and feel extreme tenderness towards her. Situming really wanted to say, if you don't give up, then what? But seeing Li Yaoyao, with such a pitiful appearance, he swallowed back these words at the edge of his mouth. Second senior brother, from childhood to now, only you treated me the best. No matter what I wanted, no matter how difficult it was, second senior brother would accomplish it for me. Isn't it so? Li Yaoyao tightly pulled Situming to a stop. Her crystal-like eyes were full of expectation. Situming's chest couldn't help but feel suffocated. Second senior brother, you will help me, right? Li Yaoyao painfully covered her chest. If I don't have third senior brother, I might as well die. Yaoyao, Situming said with emphasis. Second senior brother. I really will die. On Li Yaoyao's picturesque facial features, her eyes were filled with hope. Situming had no choice, he only sighed heavily. What do you want to do? Just now, the sound of Nangong Luoyan and Su Luo's dialogue could clearly be heard. That was because Nangong Luoyan deliberately did it. However, Li Yaoyao and Situming's conversation couldn't be transmitted out. Because from the very beginning, Situming had already set up a soundproofing circle in their surroundings. Li Yaoyao's curled eyelashes slightly fanned a few times, in a timid-looking and frail manner. She looked at Situming. If I could only return to the past, then how great would that be? At that time, third senior brother was very good to her. He never reproached her with any harsh words, unlike now. How could Situming not hear clearly the hint in Li Yaoyao's words? It was impossible to return to the past, but to return to the state it was in the past. If that girl called Su Luo had never appeared. If that girl called Su Luo would disappear without a trace. A ripple swept through the bottom of Situming's heart. Thousands of thoughts went through his head. Li Yaoyao watched as Situming racked his brain with brows creased. From an angle no one could see, the corner of her mouth slightly lifted into a shallow sneer. Her vermilion red lips were alluring as blood, ice-cold and cruel. Second senior brother, you must by all means not disappoint me, oh. Chapter 1025, Attack from the Strong, 1. The next day, early in the morning, after the first snowfall cleared, the sky was a pure azure color. When Su Luo got up, she didn't see those two people. Why did they leave? Su Luo asked in puzzlement. She had thought that they would be together with that Jade Lake's fairy in the journey ahead. She had already made the difficult mental preparations. But who would have thought, early in the morning, she didn't see a trace of the other side's figures. They left just after midnight. Nangong Luoyan helped Su Luo fasten some buttons, and then carefully placed the hat over her head. Li Yaoyao would be so willing to leave just like this. Could it be she is scheming something? Su Luo muttered. Nangong Luoyan laughingly pinched Su Luo's tender cheeks. My Luo would still care about any scheme she comes up with? Su Luo lifted her palm-sized small face, and blinked her beautiful pitch-black eyes. Other things, I'm not worried about, I'm just worried about you. Nangong Luoyan laughed out loud, and tapped her bright and clean forehead. Other things I dare not say, but this point, I can absolutely guarantee you. Even if you were to drive me away, I won't leave. Su Luo pursed her thin lips. She had originally wanted to feign indifference, but when her eyes met Nangong Luoyan's, they both exchanged a look and laughed. After everything was properly tidied up, the two of them once again rushed to the north together. As if the appearance of Li Yaoyao and Situming was like a small stone thrown into a lake. After giving rise to a very small ripple, very quickly, it vanished from sight. The further north they traveled, the more desolate it was. Eventually, until as far as the eyes could see, there was only a vast expanse of white. All colors were buried in a world of ice and snow. What could be seen besides white was still white. At first, when entering this place of ice and snow, Su Luo was still a bit curious, but after several days in succession of the same color, she inevitably became somewhat impatient. There is still a distance of 7 to 8 days from our destination. This road is really long. Su Luo leaned against the soft cushion, her gaze staring at the map while lost in thought. This map was given by Master, On it, every road sign was marked in detail. Nangong Luoyan embraced Su Luo and asked with deep concern, "Bored?" Su Luo found a comfortable position in his embrace, contentedly reclined against him and nodded her head to say, "Dull, boring and uninteresting." Nangong Luoyan laughed in spite of himself. Dull and boring, although uninteresting, it represents safety. What's not good about it? Nangong Luoyan smilingly asked. Su Luo momentarily was at a loss for words. What Nangong Luoyan said was also not wrong. At least there wasn't the Jade Lakesley family chasing to kill her. There also wasn't old witch Yen Xia chasing to kill her. Just when Su Luo was about to agree with Nangong Luoyan's point of view, all of a sudden, a touch of graveness flashed across Nangong Luoyan's face. "What's wrong?" Su Luo's expression also turned grave immediately afterwards. "Stay in the carriage, don't move." Nangong Luoyan's gaze when looking outside the carriage was cold, hard and sharp. Su Luo nodded slightly. "You must be careful." Nangong Luoyan nodded towards her. Then he turned around and jumped down from the horse carriage. Capable of making Nangong Luoyan's kind of high expert have restrained fear. It could clearly be seen that the other side's strength was also not bad. After Nangong Luoyan went out, Su Luo stayed in the horse carriage by herself. She bent an ear to listen attentively, and didn't discover the slightest bit of movement. After waiting for a long time, Su Luo finally used her fingertips to quietly lift up the carriage's curtain, and stealthily looked out. In the vast expanse of snow, Nangong Luoyan's tall rear view, with his robes pulled by the wind, gave off a respected, domineering manner that came from within. At this moment, he was standing upright just like that, steady and tranquil, as if he was the only person that remained in this world. All of a sudden, a large spirit fluctuation wildly shot towards him from the distance. Su Luo's heart violently throbbed. She had a very bad premonition about this. Chapter 1026. Attack from the Strong. 2. Sure enough, as Su Luo had anticipated, the situation had become very ugly. At this moment, 3 magical beasts rushed down from the mountain of snow towards them. These 3 magical beasts were several times larger than an elephant, with 2 sharp, ivory, spear point-like teeth that gave off a murderous cold light in the snow. It was sinister and frightening. In the split second they appeared, Su Luo felt a vicious murderous intent hitting her in the face. Her heart suddenly contracted at this moment, a sharp pain arising. Such strong murderous intent. These 3 magical beasts were very powerful. Just merely a release of murderous intent nearly pressured her to suffocate, her heart almost shattering into pieces. Nangong Luoyan, with his sleeves pulled by the wind, stood motionlessly in place. His body gave off an endless battle intent. He successfully attracted all 3 magical beasts' attention to him. When the 3 magical beasts closed in around Nangong Luoyan to rush towards him, Nangong Luoyan finally moved. In the world of ice and snow, Nangong Luoyan's figure was like a wisp of light smoke. Unexpectedly, he disappeared in place. The 3 magical beasts looked at each other in dismay. Very quickly, Nangong Luoyan's figure appeared in another position. His speed was very fast, so fast as to be in the blink of an eye. He was so fast that it nearly dazzled the 3 magical beasts' eyes. Nangong Luoyan, who had appeared in midair, suddenly brandished a double-edged sword to chop down. Nangong Luoyan was at the beginning of 10th rank. That sword blade, containing all the spirit power between heaven and earth. With a wave of that double-edged sword, a move seemingly average and dull, but contained the inquisitive spirit power of the world. Slice. One could only hear the sound of the double-edged sword cutting through flesh. One of the hind legs of the magical beasts was hit by Nangong, with blood rushing up to a high height. Nangong Luoyan's eyelids wrinkled slightly. He used 70% of his power, and the other side only suffered damage on a hind leg. Moreover, the hind hoof wasn't even cut off. Could it be that those 3 magical beasts were? In the horse carriage, Su Luo's eyes narrowed slightly, cold sweat pouring out on her pale face, with drops of sweat falling down. Her expression was full of pain, yet doing her utmost to silently bear it. Her right hand covered her heart, because the battle intent that strong experts gave off, with regards to the current her, was very harmful to her. The dragon-scaled horse was fretful and uneasy as it stepped around in place. It howled in a low voice and whinnied. Su Luo sighed faintly. Nangong Liuyun's double-edged sword couldn't even behead it. Clearly, it could be seen as to how rough the other side's fur was and how thick their flesh. With such a formidable defense, and they also lived in the extreme north. Apparently, these three were the kings of the snow lion magical beasts. The reproduction of the snow lion race was extremely difficult. Very few survived, however. Their innate skill was very high. With regards to its innate skill, this race could contend against the dragon race. Only because of the small numbers, it didn't become a well-known formidable race. Reportedly, it was said that only one snow lion was born every century. It was rumored that at birth, they were already at the 5th rank. As they grew up, breaking through the 10th rank was an easy matter for them. Didn't expect that such rare snow lions would actually appear here. Moreover, they would even indiscriminately attack Su Luo and Nangong Liuyun. Why was this? As for what's happening on Nangong Liuyun's side, Nangong Liuyun's double-edged sword chopped down, only wounding the hind leg of the largest snow lion. This one was clearly the older brother. The two behind it were the younger brothers. The two younger brothers saw their older brother being wounded, and their eyes turned bloodshot. Their sharp pointy teeth suddenly made a sound. Roar! The three snow lions, all in unison, simultaneously let out a world-shaking bellow. Su Luo only felt her internal qi and blood rolling over. She abruptly spit out a mouthful of blood. When these angry roars resounded, it startled the dragon-scaled horse. The dragon-scaled horse raised its hooves up high, and its survival instinct made it run forward. Chapter 1027. Attack from the strong 3. Su Luo, who was inside the carriage, was knocked dizzy, swaying eastwards and falling westwards. The pitiful her had just vomited out a mouthful of blood. She hadn't even taken a breath yet before she encountered such misfortune. The dragon-scaled horse's speed was very fast. Its 4 hooves madly rushed about in the snow. With Su Luo's body's current condition, she simply couldn't steer the dragon-scaled horse. At this moment, she couldn't even say a word, because when she opened her mouth, it would be another mouthful of blood. Fortunately, at this critical moment, the little divine dragon dashed out. The little divine dragon rushed out and slapped one of his claws towards the dragon-scaled horse. The dragon-scaled horse's 4 hooves that were originally raised immediately paused. Afterwards, its whole body softly collapsed onto the snow and laid there motionlessly. The little divine dragon knew how far to go, so he had merely slapped the mad dragon-scaled horse until it fainted. It wasn't like before when he killed those black-clothed people. One slap and their head would shatter into pieces. At this moment, Su Luo was finally able to steady her body. Cough, cough, cough. Su Luo covered her chest and coughed until the sky spun and the ground was obscured. Just now, there was a split second of time when it was dark before her eyes. The heavens spun and the earth went around. She almost felt like she was on the verge of dying. This damned broken body, don't know whether it would ever get better or not. The little divine dragon saw Su Luo cough out mouthful after mouthful of blood, and he became extremely distressed. His little face tightened into creases and continuously circled around Su Luo. With great difficulty, Su Luo finally was able to stop her coughing. She gave a pale, weak smile towards the little divine dragon. "It's nothing. I won't die yet." The little divine dragon's pair of big, clear monochrome eyes were misted over with water. Standing, his 2 little paws grabbed Su Luo's sleeve. "Awoo-awoo. Very painful, very painful." "Not painful." Su Luo shook her head while smiling weakly. "Awoo-awoo. How could it not be painful? There was a lot of blood on the ground." The little divine dragon's heart ached so much that he nearly cried. Su Luo shook her head, forcing a smile. Master had previously explained that in the extreme north, there was a type of 9-tailed spirit fox. Although its blood couldn't revive a dead person, its medical effect was still pretty good. However, this type of spirit fox's natural disposition was very crafty. It never roamed about in areas where humans lived. Moreover, their population was sparse, and their speed was quick as lightning. Even a 10th-ranked expert might not necessarily be able to catch a living 9-tailed spirit fox. And only a living nine-tailed spirit fox's blood was useful. There was no medical effect from a dead one's blood. But Su Luo raised her eyes to gaze at the boundless snow in the distance, where Nangong Luyan was still fighting with those 3 snow lions. The fight there was so intense, it was even more unlikely that a crafty, cautious nine-tailed spirit fox would appear. Su Luo shook her head and, with great difficulty, suppressed her rolling qi and blood. There's no nine-tailed spirit fox. We haven't arrived at Xian's wood residence. Maybe it will be over. The little divine dragon could understand human language. These disheartened words of Su Luo's made him increasingly anxious. His little tail swung back and forth, wishing he could immediately go somewhere to grab a nine-tailed spirit fox. Just at this moment, a very small white fox suddenly appeared before Su Luo. In a cautious and guarded manner, it quietly approached. Just now, Su Luo had coughed up a trail of blood. And now, this small fox had actually followed the blood trail, licking clean the bloodstains. It even swallowed the ice and snow with the blood. There really is a fox. This fox is also very bold. Su Luo weakly sat in the snow, leaning against the carriage's wall. She looked at this palm-sized small fox, finding joy in her sorrows. Suddenly, Su Luo felt that this was somewhat strange. This fox, when it had pushed the snow aside to dig for blood to consume, that tail stuck up really high. Unexpectedly, it wasn't one tail. 1 tail, 2 tails, 3 tails. Quick! It's a nine-tailed spirit fox. Su Luo was so excited that she almost couldn't breathe. Chapter 1028. Attack from the Strong 4. Was there anything more coincidental than this? Just now, she had kept saying that the nine-tailed spirit fox was difficult to find. Now a nine-tailed spirit fox had just approached her? Moreover, couldn't this nine-tailed spirit fox eat other things that were better? It actually dug out the blood she had spit out to eat? However, even though Su Luo was excited, she also hadn't lost her senses. Those words of hers were spoken to the little divine dragon with her mind. The 2 people had signed an equal contract and could communicate with each other in their minds. The little divine dragon, having heard what was said, those 2 damp eyes of his were suddenly like ignited candle flames. In a flash, they shone. Oh! The little divine dragon was like a legendary giant bird spreading his wings. With speed quick as light, he suddenly attacked towards the nine-tailed spirit fox. The nine-tailed spirit fox was already very cautious. Its perception for danger completely stemmed from instinct. Just at this moment, the nine-tailed spirit fox's 2 small claws had clasped a lump of blood. Sitting on the ground, chewing it with relish. It raised its head to see a black shadowy thing pouncing towards it. The nine-tailed spirit fox immediately used that half lump of blood it was biting on as a weapon, and fiercely tossed it towards the little divine dragon. Afterwards, its palm-sized small body quickly dashed away. How could the little divine dragon allow it to run away? He hurriedly dashed up while shouting and waving a paw. As a result, in this world of ice and snow, there were 2 shining white small magical beasts, one in front and one behind, one running and one chasing, with speed so quick that it was astonishing. Both of these small magical beasts' forte was speed. Both were heaven's favorite, and their innate skill was superior from birth. Momentarily, it was unexpectedly difficult to decide who was winning. Su Luo, looking on helplessly at those 2 small things dashed about, for a moment, she was somewhat speechless. At present, this wasn't good. In this land of snow, the dragon-scaled horse had fainted, laying there motionless. She was tossed out of the carriage, leaning against the carriage as she sat on the ground. She also couldn't move. By chance, Su Luo's position allowed her to see the battle in the sky. The 2 sides' battle was very intense. Seeing those fast after images of their figure flashing by, Su Luo's eyes narrowed slightly. Her gaze was fixedly watching, not moving a bit. Suddenly, a divine light quickly flashed through her mind. So quick that she couldn't catch it with several steps. But this was very important. Extremely important. Because seeing those figures after images flashing by, Su Luo could faintly understand a bit of the real meaning behind teleportation. Su Luo forced herself to recollect everything bit by bit. However, that divine light was like throwing a stone into an ocean. sinking without a trace. She didn't get the slightest reaction. Su Luo gloomily slapped her own head. If she lost this opportunity, don't know when the next opportunity would be for her to understand it. The spirit dance steps law, she had already cultivated from beginning to the end. Although her speed was a lot quicker, but it still had not reached the teleportation stage. Just at this moment, on the snowy vast expanse of whiteness by Su Luo's side, suddenly, an area of white snow stood upright. A long sword drilled out ghost-like from the ground, noiselessly slicing towards Su Luo's throat. That area of snow was not real snow at all. Rather, it was a person. A person that was completely white from his hair to his clothes, to his shoes and socks. His whole body was white, on top of this area being pure white as snow. It was extremely easy to miss him. Even Su Luo only realized it after seeing the reflective light from that cold double-edged sword. This clearly was an assassination after some careful deliberation. Su Luo's body had already been seriously injured. After the incident when the dragon-scaled horse went mad, her body was even weaker to the extreme confronted with such an ice-cold double-edged sword. How could she avoid it? At present, she couldn't even move. Nangong Luoyun, right now, was in the midst of battling 3 powerful magical beasts, too occupied to attend to other things. The little divine dragon had already left in vigorous pursuit of the 9-tailed spirit fox, leaving absolutely not a trace behind. The variant acacia hadn't recovered from its serious injury. The little stone was still unconscious. What was Su Luo to do right now? Would she be able to avoid this calamity? Chapter 1029, Between Life and Death, 1. Nangong Luoyun was in the midst of fighting with the 3 snow lions, and they were in a deadlock. His speed was very fast, illusory like smoke, making it hard for people to grasp his figure. The 3 snow lions formed the Chinese character, to surrounded Nangong Luoyun in midair. Glaring like a tiger watching its prey, their imposing manner burst out. Nangong Luoyun coldly smiled. In a flash, he put back that double-edged sword. Afterwards, his right hand, from the arm to the fingertips, actually gave off a faint gold color. This arm seemed to have endless fighting strength, invincible, so valiant that it made people's heart throb. The 3 snow lions looked at each other in dismay, a trace of astonishment flashing in their eyes. However, their instinctive pride made them unable to retreat. Roar! Just when the light golden luster on Nangong Luoyun's right arm became increasingly more intense, those 3 snow lions abruptly rushed towards him. Nangong Luoyun's golden arm slowly circulated the law of heaven and earth, forming band after band of a veined pattern that changed unpredictably. His eyes narrowed slightly. At the last second he swung that golden fist. Bang! The entire world shook. The surrounding air momentarily ruptured. That fist, radiating endless rays of light, dazzling to the eyes with insufferable arrogance. That arm seemed to extend out countless folds longer in an instant, unceasingly piercing through the sky. The snow lion that flew in the front was instantly smashed by that fist. This defense was formed by the widely known abnormally strong snow lion. This snow lion had the hardest skull, yet that head was unexpectedly smashed into pieces. In a flash, its enormous body was thrown away. It shot backwards towards a distant place, then fell to the ground with a loud bang. A huge hole was smashed into the icy ground covered by millennium-old ice and snow. This was a horribly shocking sight to see. Nangong Luoyun's figure was like electricity, demon-like as it shot towards them, avoiding the attacks by the 2 snow lions. He had eliminated the eldest. Now, only the second brother and third brother remained. And the hind leg of the third brother had previously been cut by Nangong Luoyun, so its strength had dropped by a lot. Bang! A violent fluctuation occurred in midair. A snow lion had changed direction, his forepaws stretched out, with scarlet-rimmed eyes. It rushed furiously towards Nangong Luoyun. Meanwhile, on a snow-capped mountain not far away, 2 figures stood there motionless. You should feel at ease. Nothing will happen to third junior brother. Situ Ming saw Li Yaoyao nervously staring, unable to take her eyes off the fight, and couldn't help but speak to comfort her. At the same time, he also inevitably had a somewhat wrong taste in his heart. Third junior brother treated her like this. and her heart staunchly only thought of him. No matter how optimistic he might be, in the end, it was still difficult for him to be at peace with this idea. Li Yaoyao watched that battle, her eyes unblinkingly staring at it. Very clearly, she was truly nervous. Right, what you said isn't wrong. Nothing will happen to third senior brother. It's impossible for something to happen to him. Li Yaoyao pursed her lower lip, a thread of resoluteness flashed through her eyes. Situ Ming turned sideways, looking at the delicate complexion beside him. He heaved a faint sigh. Second senior brother, are you regretting it? Li Yaoyao changed her expression and pitifully gazed at Situ Ming. Situ Ming did a favor for the eldest of the snow lions. When he went to find the oldest, which he had saved back then, with the keepsake, the snow lion had agreed to help him. Yaoyao, this favor originally could have been exchanged for something better, but now it was used on this matter of sending away third junior brother. Is it really worth it? It wasn't because Situ Ming hated to part with this favor. After all, if it was something that could make Li Yaoyao happy, even if it required his life, he would still do it. Only, wasn't this not enough gain to make up for the losses? After all, having a snow lion owe you a favor wasn't an easy matter. Chapter 1030, Between Life and Death 2. Li Yaoyao pursed her lips and shook her head with unswerving determination. No, it's very much worth it. Because if it wasn't for the snow lions drawing Nangong Luyan away, she simply would never have the opportunity to move against Su Luo, that cheap girl. Third senior brother really treasured that cheap girl too much, as if Su Luo, that cheap girl, would die if he left her side. Just as if she was tied to his waist, taking her along to wherever he goes, closely protecting her. She simply wasn't given a chance to move against her. The person you found, will he really be able to kill Su Luo? Situ Ming's expression was somewhat complicated. That girl's appearance was nearly identical to Master's most treasured wooden carving. Clearly, it could be seen there definitely was a connection between them two. If Master knew, Situ Ming simply didn't dare to imagine that kind of consequences. If they succeeded in one strike, then fine. If they let the other side escape, it simply would cause no end of trouble. He came. Li Yaoyao was looking off in the distance. A white shadow quietly approached Su Luo, and a double-edged sword ferociously thrust towards Su Luo's throat. Second senior brother, believe in me, Su Luo undoubtedly will die this time. Li Yaoyao's eyes narrowed sinisterly with excitement ignited in her eyes. With Su Luo dead, third senior brother would be hers. Li Yaoyao excitedly clenched her fists, her nails digging deeply into her flesh, but she completely paid no attention to it. As for what was happening on Su Luo's side, the murderous cold double-edged sword ruthlessly stabbed towards Su Luo's neck. Just at this moment of imminent peril, Su Luo's gaze turned towards Nangong Luyan. She saw Nangong Luyan hurriedly crush the second snow lion to death. She saw Nangong Luyan turn his head back. She saw his eyes going from stun to despair to disbelief. She saw him recklessly rush towards her. His speed was extremely quick. However, the double-edged sword was already before her eyes. It was already too late. Just at this critical moment, seeing Nangong Liuyun's speed that nearly defied the natural order of things, those after images that flashed through her head one by one. A divine light suddenly flashed through Su Luo's mind. Moreover, she was finally able to catch this divine light. To step on and destroy the afterimages, must pierce through the void. Su Luo only felt a heat quickly rise from her pubic region transferring to her legs. Teleport. Su Luo only felt that her entire body seemed to be placed in a void. Originally, she was only separated by the paper on a window from the actual facts. Now the paper on the window was poked open. Su Luo felt as if it were a lifetime ago. Just at this moment of a fine line between life and death, she actually comprehended the true meaning of integrating the spirit dance steps with space. Teleport. She actually learned to teleport. Even though it was only a short 10 meters distance, this nonetheless demonstrated that she already had set foot in the doorway of this law. Su Luo escaped like a fish in water. That person with white clothes and white hair had believed success was within grasp. The result was that he actually came up empty. How could he possibly accept this kind of failure? The double-edged sword reversed directions, and once again stabbed towards Su Luo's back. Just now, Su Luo had disappeared in the blink of an eye, and in another eye blink, appeared 10 meters away. The white-clothed person only thought it was because his own vision blurred and never even thought in the direction of teleportation. After all, in this world, to reach understanding to the law of teleportation only existed in legends. In the real world, it had already been lost long ago, let alone to say, whose family's teleportation was only 10 meters. As a result, it simply never occurred to him. The double-edged sword was like a viper, tightly nipping at Su Luo, not letting go. Seeing that the person was about to stab Su Luo's back again. Teleport. Su Luo swallowed a spirit restoration pill, and, relying on the little bit of recovered spirit power, she once again left by teleport. That white-clothed person was momentarily struck dumb. He completely couldn't understand how this person could vanish time after time. If it was because his vision blurred, how could his vision continuously blur twice in a row? I'll stab. The white-clothed person gritted his teeth, rushing towards Su Luo, and once more ferociously stabbed at her back. Chapter 1031, Between Life and Death 3. At the same time, he arranged an imprisonment with a range of 100 meters, confining Su Luo's movements. He just didn't believe that this time he would still let Su Luo escape. This time, the white-clothed person used 100% of his strength. This thrust had all his strength placed in it. He opened his eyes wide, afraid that this time, his vision would blur once again. However, he didn't know that he would never be blurry-eyed again. Because he had already fallen down for eternity, never to wake up again. Nangong Liuyun's berserk golden fist that emitted an endless violent energy, heavily smashed towards his back. All of the white-clothed person's bones rapidly cracked, shattering into pieces. Until finally, he turned into a lump of minced meat, falling softly to the ground. Up ahead, Su Luo staggered and almost fell down. Nangong Liuyun turned around and went to her. With quick steps, he caught her and placed her tightly in his embrace. Luo Luo. Nangong Liuyun stared at her nervously, examining her body from head to toe. From the moment he saw that long sword thrust towards Su Luo until now, Nangong Liuyun's figure still trembled slightly. Damn it! With this examination, Nangong Liuyun got so angry that he nearly went crazy. His precious Luoluith these days, he had carefully attended to her with all of his heart. And with great difficulty, he had finally gotten a little healthy color from Luo Luo. Now her body's internal organs and veins were in disorder. Even more, the lapel of her coat was mottled with bloodstains. Falling into his embrace, Su Luo opened her pair of weak eyes. The corners of her mouth slowly formed a gorgeous smile. Nangong, I just knew you would rush over. Nangong Liuyun's pair of icy, gloomy, cold and bloodthirsty eyes. At the corners of his eyes, he restrained them slightly, but it was full of self-blame. Luo Luo. I almost lost you again. He had vowed before that he would never let her get hurt again. He had vowed to protect her well. But now she was hurt right in front of his eyes. A breeze caressed his jet black as ink hair. That beautiful and exquisite appearance was full of heartache and guilt. Su Luo smiled weakly. Don't blame yourself, it's not your fault. No, it's my fault. Nangong Liuyun said. The snow lion would never attack us without cause or reason. The reason for this is well worth thinking over. Nangong Liuyun's gaze turned to that white-clothed person's badly mutilated body. His pitch-black, ink-like eyes emitted a faint, hidden light with a strange measuring look. No one knew what Nangong Liuyun was thinking. The wounds on your body. The bright red blood on the front of Su Luo's body deeply stung his pair of eyes. Nangong Liuyun's pair of eyes narrowed slightly, springing up with a ruthlessness. The little divine dragon left to hunt down the nine-tailed spirit fox. Hopefully he can capture it. Su Luo weakly rested her head against his chest, rubbing against it for a moment, searching for a comfortable position to lean against. Earlier, when she was avoiding the white-clothed person, she used teleport twice in a row, almost exhausting all of her strength. At this time, she always felt as if oxygen was being extracted out from her brain, leaving a blank sheet. Moreover, She felt so nauseated that she wanted to vomit. Seeing Su Luo's pale appearance, Nangong Luoyun once again hated that he wasn't an apothecary. We'll go look for the little divine dragon. He had never been the kind of person to sit and wait for death, or to entrust to chance rather than show initiative. His policy was always to take the initiative to attack. With a quick turn of his agile body, Nangong Luoyun got up and slapped awake the dragon-scaled horse. Very quickly, they were far away from this blood-stained, snow-covered ground. Were all three beasts killed? Su Luo, who had suffered excessive blood loss, kept feeling like her whole body was cold, and was unable to stop shivering. I killed two. Nangong Luoyun's appearance was cold and stiff, and his gaze was extremely cold like iron. However, when he spoke to Su Luo, his gaze was so tender and warm that water could drip out. Releasing the tiger back into the mountains will cause no end of trouble. Su Luo's tone carried regret that didn't disperse for a long time. The snow lion species race because it had low numbers, so they were very united. Moreover, they liked to hold grudges. They would certainly seek revenge. Chapter 1032, Between Life and Death 4. If all three of them were killed together, then it would be fine, but Nangong Luoyun just so happened to let one go. Su Luo knew considering Nangong Luoyun's strength, knowledge and experience, how could he have let one go? It was because he had seen her in danger that he had abandoned the third snow lion, and turned around to save her. Nangong Luoyun sent an endless stream of spirit strength from his palm to Su Luo's chest cavity. Originally, after soaking in Grandmaster Rong Yun's medicinal bath for 7 days, Su Luo's body had already gotten a little better, and no longer needed to have spirit strength injected into her every day. However, after going through this battle, Su Luo's body returned to the state it was before her liberation from the bath. In a single night, beaten back to its previous state. At this moment, a lustrous radiance circulated between the two figures, as spiritual energy flowed all over the place. Yet speaking of that snowy mountain peak, Li Yaoyao watched everything unfold before her eyes with a dumbstruck expression. It was simply too hard to believe. She stared until Situming once again called her name. Yaoyao Yaoyao. At this time, Li Yaoyao had already bitten her lip until a trace of blood appeared. Why is it like this? Li Yaoyao's figure trembled slightly, almost on the verge of collapse. Her voice was very soft, as if asking a question, but also seemed as if she was muttering to herself. At this moment, she was engrossed in her own world. Confused and in disbelief, no matter what, she couldn't walk out of it. Situming's heart ached as he watched the Li Yaoyao before him, unsure how to comfort her. Why? Why didn't she die? Why? Li Yaoyao frantically shook Situming's arms with great strength in her grip, nearly pinching into Situming's flesh. Little junior sister, calm down, calm down. Situming stroked Li Yaoyao's hair, consoling her in a soft tone. The matter is already like this, you should just accept the reality. The fact that Su Luo wasn't killed allowed Situming to let out a breath of relief inwardly. Because when he saw Su Luo he would always think of his master's secretive, measuring and mysterious eyes. Every time he thought of master, his heart couldn't help but to hold master in high esteem and to revere him. Second senior brother. I'm unwilling to accept this. I'm really unwilling to accept this. Li Yaoyao's pair of eyes was scarlet red, deranged like a lunatic. Yaoyao, how can your appearance become like this now? The second half of his sentence, Situming's mouth opened slightly, but couldn't say a word. He was afraid he would hurt Li Yaoyao. Second senior brother, help me. Help me one more time, okay? Li Yaoyao continuously beseeched him. Both of her eyes were full of appeal, hope and expectation. But Situming slowly turned his face away. Second senior brother. Even you don't like me anymore? Boo-hoo. Li Yaoyao pulled out her final trump card. Crying with the tear-stained face of a beauty, she looked very pitiful. How could Situming endure the pleas and tears of his goddess? He stroked Li Yaoyao's soft hair and finally made a firm resolution. Don't cry anymore. Second senior brother promises you, okay? Situming suddenly thought of his master's pair of deep pitch-black eyes. However, he deliberately ignored it. What could be more important than little junior sister's smiling face? Second senior brother treats me the best. Li Yaoyao sniffled as she got rid of her tears and smiled. She pulled on Situ Ming's arm intimately, acting like a spoiled child as she rubbed against him. With second senior brother by Yaoyao's side, then Yaoyao won't be afraid of anything. Looking at this childish girl before him, Situ Ming laughed bitterly again and again. If he was really this great, then why didn't this girl choose him instead? At this time, Situ Ming, who was gazing at Li Yaoyao with deep emotions, the hand at his side clenched tightly into a fist. Everything he did was by following his heart. It shouldn't be wrong, right? However, Situ Ming had never expected how the person he gave everything to love, cherish and protect, would ultimately treat him in the not-too-distant future. Chapter 1033, Between Life and Death 5. Su Luo's breathing was getting weaker and weaker in his arms. Nangong Luoyan poured out a few vitality pills and crushed them into fine powder. With some water he gave it to Su Luo to swallow. Su Luo nodded weakly. I'm still okay. What do you mean you're okay? You're already like this. Nangong Luoyan stared at Su Luo with self-blame and pain as he spoke in a bad mood. Su Luo's palm-sized small face creased. It's bitter. Every other aspect of the vitality pills master refined was good, it's just that it was bitter. Nangong Luoyan didn't say anything more. In one mouthful he finished the water in the cup and then his body bent over hers. Su Luo was compelled to accept his mouth-to-mouth feeding. Is it still bitter like this? Nangong Luoyan's sharp eyebrows slanted upwards. Su Luo's small face wrinkled and shook her head cutely. Right at this moment, Su Luo's crystal-like eyes suddenly lit up. The little divine dragon is coming. She and the little divine dragon had agreed to and signed a contract of equality. Just now, in her mind, she could hear the little divine dragon's cheer of victory. Not long after, the little divine dragon leaped into the carriage in a bouncing and vivacious manner. At this time he was holding a furry, snow-white little thing in his mouth. Nine-tailed spirit fox? Nangong Luoyan was slightly moved. Things that Grandmaster Rongyan had asked him to look out for, he had kept in mind. From start to finish, on this journey, he had always been paying attention to the sides of the road, but there wasn't even a trace of a footprint. He had never thought that this little dragon would be this amazing, directly bringing back the nine-tailed spirit fox in his mouth. Awoo, it was pretending to be dead, I just knocked it out. The little divine dragon jumped into Su Luo's arms with his little tail raised up high, looking immensely proud of himself, taking credit for his achievement. His whole appearance was like that of a lively brat. Su Luo smiled as she gently caressed the little divine dragon's slightly messy fur. Definitely worthy of being called the dragon race's most noble blood, linearly amazing. The little divine dragon heard this praise and became even more excited. He proudly stuffed his prey, the nine-tailed spirit fox, into Su Luo's hand. As expected, the little divine dragon had some intelligence. The most precious aspect about the nine-tailed spirit foxes was its blood. Right now, it was only knocked out without a single cut on its body. Nangong Luoyan took out his dagger and aimed it at the nine-tailed spirit fox's neck, and was about to slice down. Although the nine-tailed spirit fox was precious, but compared to his darling Luo's body, then it's nothing at all. Just at this moment, the nine-tailed spirit fox suddenly regained consciousness. However, when the nine-tailed spirit fox opened its eyes and looked towards Nangong Luoyan, it could not help but shake slightly. Subconsciously, it curled up in fear. What a powerful human! The person before its eyes, under a seemingly tranquil and fluid glance, hit a sharp edge like a hawk's. He had the unsurpassed oppressive powers of a strong expert, which astonished the hearts of others. The nine-tailed spirit fox's eyes, which were originally glancing about randomly, drooped down in a flash. Its body rolled up into a ball, similar to a hedgehog. When Nangong Luoyan lifted it by the ear, it was still curled up into a round ball. Nangong Luoyan simply couldn't find its neck. Nangong Luoyan's thick eyebrows knitted slightly, then he immediately flipped it over and lifted up the little spirit fox by its two little feet. Consequently, the pitiful nine-tailed spirit fox was forced to hang upside down and swing back and forth miserably in Nangong Luoyan's hand. Its pair of black limpid eyes looked toward Su Luo miserably, wanting to sob, looking extremely aggrieved. Just at this moment, Su Luo's suddenly eyes lit up. Hold on, Nangong Luyun looked back at her warmly. What is it? Su Luo was in extremely high spirits. As she pulled at Nangong Luyun's hand, her eyes were full of brilliance like the tossing of waves. I have a way. Say it. Nangong Luyun helped her sit up. His eyes gathered a splendor akin to bright stones. With a warm smile, he single-mindedly concentrated on gazing at her, as if there was only her alone in the world. In his eyes, there was only her. Su Luo, full of spirit, said, The nine-tailed spirit fox is extremely rare. To kill one, there's one less. Moreover, if you kill it now, you can only use it once. Chapter 1034, At the Time of Life or Death 6. And however, it's only this big. Nangong Luyun gestured at the nine-tailed spirit fox's size. Doesn't seem to have much blood. Moreover, the nine-tailed spirit fox's most precious thing was its heart's blood. That's a rarely seen, once in a millennium, wonderful medicine. What if we feed it a vitality pill? Su Luo's beautiful eyes turned quick-wittedly, flashing with a crafty radiance. No, you don't have a lot of vitality pills left. When it involved the topic of Su Luo's health, Nangong Luyun, as usual, held fast to his principle and did not budge an inch. Aya. Feed it a vitality pill, then I'll drink its blood. Isn't that fine? Su Luo nearly rolled her eyes. Nangong Luyun leaned back in the carriage, with his beautiful, lily-white hands grasping the nine-tailed spirit fox which had fainted. With a single thought, he could decide the life or death of this little spirit fox which had already survived for several hundred years. Let's try it first. Nangong Luyun's eyes shone and dazzled like crystal stones, flashing with rays of light. If it was truly like Su Luo said, then it could still be considered as a good method. There wouldn't be much of a loss in treating this nine-tailed spirit fox as a medicine pot. Su Luo placated the little pitiful one. If you take this medicine you can still live. If you don't take it, then all that's left for you is death. The nine-tailed spirit fox was extremely intelligent. It hadn't signed a contract with Su Luo, but it still understood human speech. The vitality pills distributed a spiritual strength that was full of strength. The nine-tailed spirit fox liked it instinctively. So it didn't wait to be fed and rushed forward on its own towards Su Luo's hand, immediately swallowing that pea-sized pill. The vitality pill, as the name implied, had a function of improving one's physiology. A Grandmaster-level vitality pill was consumed. The originally wobbly nine-tailed spirit fox, in an instant, seemed to have been injected with chicken blood. Its eyes were suddenly flooded with brilliant lights and vibrant colors, giving off spirit energy from head to toe. Nangong Luyun's eyes flickered. Seems like it was really useful. He didn't say anything further and grabbed the nine-tailed spirit fox's little paw, cutting down with a single slice. The nine-tailed spirit fox cowered and trembled with fear as it watched this incomparably formidable human, not daring to have even a thought of resisting. After letting out a tiny cup of the nine-tailed spirit fox's blood, Nangong Luyun then cast the fox aside, and held the cup toward Su Luo. The nine-tailed spirit fox, which was tossed aside, looked at its ugly wound and wanted to sob. The little divine dragon walked close to it, and then licked the wound a few times. Very quickly, the wound stopped bleeding. Which part of the little divine dragon's body wasn't a treasure? Even his saliva was a treasure. Placed on the market, this saliva was the best panacea for injury. Watch it. Don't let it escape. Nangong Luyun instructed the little divine dragon without even looking back. The little divine dragon was disdainful of anyone, and always had a proud and arrogant appearance. However, towards Nangong Luyun, he had a kind of reverence that rose from deep within his heart. As a result, he had always listened to Nangong Luyun's words, as if it was an imperial edict. Consequently, the little divine dragon was like a prison guard watching the convict in a prison, biting its tail, circling around that pitiful nine-tailed spirit fox. The nine-tailed spirit fox wanted to cry but had no tears. Wasn't it just being a bit gluttonous? Didn't it just consume one thing? How did it end up becoming someone else's blood bank? Pubu. After Su Luo drank the nine-tailed spirit fox's blood, she felt a warm yet cool feeling in her abdomen. The blood which had been rolling over and over from before seemed to be choked off and gradually calmed down. In the end, she leaned against Nangong Liuyun's chest and fell into a deep sleep. Time passed, bit by bit. The sky darkened and then brightened again. The speed of the dragon-scaled horse was very fast, letting go of all four hooves. It was as if they were cutting out a white ray of light in mid-air, with speed as fast as a meteor. However, just when the color of the sky started to brighten, Nangong Liuyun's eyebrows knitted slightly. Chapter 1035. Between Life and Death 7. Su Luo opened her eyes. What she saw was Nangong Liuyun's black eyes that shone with a spirited, cold and dazzling light. His face seemed to have been carved with a knife, extraordinarily handsome. His elegant, satin-like, fine black hair also swayed in a carefree manner in the wind over his shoulder. He was very beautiful, so beautiful that it enticed the hearts of people. For a moment, Su Luo felt like she was bewitched, stupefied by his beauty. How is it? Do you feel a little more comfortable? Nangong Liuyun's dark red vermilion lips curled up, and his deep, beautiful eyes looked at Su Luo with deep concern. Su Luo took a deep breath. Previously, her lungs were so unbearably hot that it hurt, to the extent that even inhaling a mouthful of air nearly made her pass out from the pain. However, now Su Luo took a deep breath and sucked in a mouthful of sweet-scented air. Much better than before. It doesn't hurt as much as before. Su Luo's face, which was originally as pale as paper, now seemed to have a faint rosiness. Nangong Liuyun didn't feel at ease and grabbed her slender hand to take her pulse carefully. He also used his spirit energy to sort out her body thoroughly. It was only after he made sure that there weren't any major problems did his manner relax somewhat. Su Luo continuously looked at him warmly. This time, she injured her body seriously, but Nangong Liuyun was injured in the heart. She had turned a demonically enchanting, cruel, untamed, powerful, aggressive, most honored and kingly person into a docile man who helps her dress, feeds her, washes her hands, and cooks soup for her. Of course, he was docile only towards her. What are you laughing at? With that foolish expression all over your face. Nangong Liuyun helped Su Luo tidy up her sleeves. Then he raised his eyes to see this girl smiling foolishly, and hooked her nose lovingly. The more Su Luo looked at Nangong Liuyun, the more satisfied she became. Able to pick up such a good man. Really was a meat pie falling from the sky. One could only come across such things serendipitously. It seemed that heaven still cared for her a lot. Nangong, after we return, let's get. Before the word married could emerge, and Su Luo still had a smile at the corners of her mouth. However, an unforeseen event suddenly occurred at this moment. From far away, a fierce yell could be heard faintly. The yell was fierce as if heaven and earth was shaking, while the earth cracked and broke open. Su Luo's expression froze slightly. This is the snow lion that escaped. Nangong Liuyun's expression was somewhat unsightly. At that time, Nangong Liuyun urgently had to save Su Luo, so gave it an opportunity to escape. Never expected that after being injured it actually stayed here, and hadn't returned to its community. Opportunity only knocks once. Hurry up and go. Su Luo hurriedly urged him. She knew how the Snow Lion's ethnic group would definitely avenge a hatred. If this Snow Lion was beheaded here, then the follow-up danger would be eliminated. So they wouldn't need to constantly worry that the Snow Lion community would attack them. Hey, Nangong Liuyun commanded the dragon-scaled horse to accelerate its speed. In fact, if you flew over there. Su Luo had only spoken half a sentence before she was interrupted. Luo, I can't possibly leave you by yourself. The fear from nearly losing her before was still vivid in his mind. Just recalling it made him tremble from head to toe. How could he still possibly leave Luo behind by herself? Even though if it was only 1 in 10,000th of a possibility, Nangong Liuyun wouldn't take this risk. It's all my fault for burdening you. Su Luo pursed her pale lips, her little head hanging down in self-blame. Now the sickly her was just a burden. Nangong Liuyun really loved this pitiful little appearance of Su Luo's to death. Su Luo's this kind of appearance gave him a sense of security of being able to lovingly spoil her. Foolish girl, do you want me die from self-blame? Nangong Luoyun tenderly stroked her satin-like supple hair. Su Luo leaned against his shoulder, a smile spread across her face. Sour and sweet feelings interweaved in her heart, gradually forming into a jar of blissful wine. Chapter 1036, Between Life and Death. 8. The dragon-scaled horse's speed was very fast. In the blink of an eye, they had reached the location of the sound. Stay in the carriage. You're not allowed to get out. Nangong Luoyun repeatedly instructed her. After he finished making it clear to Su Luo, he slapped the dragon-scaled horse's head heavily. Previously, because of the foolish thing the dragon-scaled horse had done, Nangong Luoyun had already punished it ruthlessly. At this moment, seeing Nangong Luoyun's gaze slanting towards it, the dragon-scaled horse lowered its head in shame. Humph! Nangong Luoyun scoffed loudly, then moving quickly he left. Just as Su Luo had said, the task of eliminating the third snow lion was his unshirkable duty. However, when Nangong Luoyun came out of the carriage and saw the scene before his eyes, he still paused a bit. There were two human figures up ahead engaged in a battle with the snow lion. These two people Nangong Luoyun was very familiar with them. A single fist from Nangong Luoyun could blast the snow lion into dregs. However, to many other people, the snow lion's power was still very hard for them to hold off. At this moment, the two people who were battling against the snow lion together, one was Bai Qining, while the other actually was Xian. Although Bai Qining and Xian's strengths weren't bad, but despite joining together to fight an injured snow lion, they were still at a disadvantage. At present, they were surrounded by perils and in serious crisis. Currently, the snow lion had already gone crazy, appearing very violent. That sharp teeth gave off an extremely cold light. Suddenly, the snow lion pounced towards Xian. Bai Qining bellowed. An endless fiery blaze attacked the snow lion. The snow lion abandoned Xian and turned around to pounce towards Bai Qining instead. It flew, pouncing down from above with its bloody mouth wide open. That appearance was sinister and terrifying. Currently, Bai Qining and Xian both had wounds all over their bodies, with fresh blood splashing bit by bit onto the ground. After fighting for so long, they had already reached the verge of exhaustion. Although the snow lion's body seemed cumbersome, but its speed was actually as fast as light. In the blink of an eye, it pounced on Bai Qining and toppled him onto the ground. Its sharp hunting teeth suddenly stabbed towards Bai Qining's throat. No! Xian screamed urgently and did her utmost to rush up. However, how could Xian's speed beat the snow lion's speed? She could only watch as Bai Qining was about to lose his life to this mad snow lion's hunting teeth. Just at this moment of imminent peril, Nangong Luoyun's figure descended like a god. One could see him dressed in an ink-black wide gown with his fine black hair, casually tied up with a red silk string. His cruel, untamed and violent appearance was also pretty, flirtatious and moving. A gentle wind blew across, and the tassels at his waist was windborne and danced willfully. The hem of his luxurious, soft gown was like a warm cloud, a flowing light that held back the shadows. Second brother. Bai Qining, who had been toppled to the ground by the snow lion, suddenly his eyes lit up. Just at this moment, an ink-black longsword emerged from Nangong Luoyun's hands. The longsword was like a deep, clear spring, pure white like snow. Slash! The longsword that had condensed an endless amount of spirit power, suddenly slashed heavily across the snow lion's back. To the snow lion that was known for its strong defense, its hard backbone was struck and broke in a flash, emitting a burst of snapping sounds. The snow lion turned back, raising its head painfully to glare at Nangong Luoyun with anger and hatred interweaving in its eyes. However, without waiting for it to jump up to attack, Nangong Luoyun turned to ruthlessly chop off the snow lion's forelegs. Even with Bai Qining and Xian joined together, they still were tyrannized terribly by the snow lion. However, the moment Nangong Luoyun arrived, the situation was completely overturned. Crash! The snow lion's foreleg was chopped off, and fresh blood gushed out. The snow lion only had 4 legs, but one foreleg and one hind leg had been destroyed by Nangong Luoyun. Now, The snow lion couldn't even stand on its feet. Astonishment sprouted in its heart. It turned around, wanting to run away. Chapter 1037. Everyone assembled. 1. The snow lion turned around and was about to run. Its survival instinct made its speed soar to the peak. The snow lion really wanted to run, but how could Nangong Luoyun give it such an opportunity? This snow lion almost killed his treasured Luo Luo, almost killed his brother. How could Nangong Luoyun let him leave? Nangong Luoyun lifted up the black sword in his hand. It heated up like sunshine, and the sword body slashed by with a brilliant radiance. Right now, his eyes were half-narrowed dangerously. His appearance was grave and stern, as if shrouded in frost. The black sword contained the strength of heaven and earth. Suddenly, it attacked towards the snow lion that had escaped to several hundred meters distance. The snow lion basically thought that it had escaped to a safe range, but then it felt a burst of murderous aura attack towards it. It wanted to dodge, but it would never had the chance. A huge noise passed by. The snow lion's enormous body turned and stopped momentarily. The huge black sword disintegrated into specks of cold light. All of it entered the snow lion's body. It was actually at the peak of 9th rank, but how could it withstand Nangong Luoyun's full-strength attack? Its enormous body paused a bit in mid-air. Soon after, with a thump sound, it fell to the ground. It smashed a huge hole in the snow-covered ground. Beichening watched everything with a dumbfounded expression. Beichening rubbed his eyes in disbelief, then rubbed it again. Soon after, he burst out with an excited yell. Tell, second brother, what kind of precious elixir made from heavenly material did you eat? How did you advance so quickly? Beichening exaggeratedly jumped up. This was only 2 years that they hadn't seen each other. At that time, wasn't second brother at the 8th rank? That was already in defiance of the natural order. But just now, the 9th-ranked snow lion that he and Xian together couldn't beat had fallen with just 1 strike from second brother. Hey boss, could it be you are at the peak of 9th rank? Beichening weakly asked. That pair of thick eyelashes brushed over a pair of clear monochrome eyes, blinking as it watched Nangong Luoyun. Nangong Luoyun stood there with hands behind his back, and lifted his chin in an extremely showy fashion. 9th rank? I haven't been one for a long time. Beichening jumped around in chaos from being stimulated. He was really stimulated, okay? These 2 years, in order to increase his strength, he went into the magical beast forest by himself to cultivate through experience. Like going through wind and fire. Countless times being surrounded by danger. Countless times on the brink of life or death. However, even like this, these 2 years he only got promoted to 8th rank. But second brother actually wordlessly advanced to the 10th rank. 10th rank? What goddamned kind of speed was this? How could it let others live? After our little noble Beichen's excitement passed, he withered like an eggplant during first frost of winter. Xian hit Beichening on the head. Little Shadow, you are not so bad yourself. You can pass muster against most people. Xian herself, even now, was still at the 7th rank. Bringing this up, Beichening's eyes suddenly lit up. Where is sister-in-law? Mentioning Luo Luo. A tenderness flashed through Nangong Luoyun's ice-cold eyes. Take its crystal nucleus. With free labor present, not using it would be a waste. Nangong Luoyun confidently and at ease fluttered his sleeves, walked away smooth as a cloud. At this time, Su Luo had already walked out of the carriage, standing in place, both eyes containing a smile as she smilingly gazed at Nangong Luoyun. Why did you come out? Nangong Luoyun stretched out his long arms and looped her into his embrace. Su Luo placed her body weight on his body. Only like this was she barely able to stand steadily. Seeing you guys fighting, it was so lively, so I came out to see. Su Luo raised her pale little face. That little face was overflowing with smiles. Luo Luo. Xian excitedly rushed up, throwing herself over, wanting to hug Su Luo. Chapter 1038. Everyone assembled too. However, before her could came within 10-meter range of Su Luo, her body was ruthlessly ejected out. Third senior brother. Xian, panting in rage, glared at Nangong Luoyun. Bei Chening followed close behind to throw himself towards Su Luo. However, it was the same result. He was also ejected out by that circle of light. Moreover, this time, Nangong Luoyun was even more ruthless. He used an even heavier hand than before, directly dropping Bei Chening down and giving him a black eye. Second brother, you are really heartless. Bei Chening staunchly crawled up, complaining about being wronged. Isn't it just hugging Su Luo? He was actually so stingy. Seeing Su Luo, Xian suddenly stared blankly in place. She didn't speak for a very long time. Bei Chening looked at Su Luo at the same time, and his body froze from being startled. His eyes contracted momentarily. Luo, how did you? Xian only felt that her throat was choked with emotions and couldn't say another word. Wasn't careful and received a small injury, no harm. Su Luo gracefully smiled. Only she couldn't even stand up, with a pale face that was paper white. Her complexion was so sickly that it was too pitiful to behold. Her being like this, other people could see that she was heavily injured at a glance. Bei Chenying's face flashed with faint anger, nearly about to explode. He clenched his fist tighter. Second brother, how did this come about? Nangong Luoyun's face seemed to be shrouded in cold frost. He was silent without speaking. He carried Su Luo and turned around to climb into the carriage. Let's get into the carriage. Su Luo smilingly waved them over. The four of them climbed into the carriage. The dragon-scaled horse let go of all four hoofs to gallop toward the already established direction. In the carriage, the four people looked at each other. Finally, it was still Su Luo who took the lead to break the silence. She smiled, saying in a placating tone, "You guys shouldn't have this expression of the sky is about to collapse. I haven't died yet. Be quiet." Nangong Luoyun roared angrily toward Su Luo. "You are not allowed to say this word." His voice was very loud. The dragon-scaled horse originally was running well, but with his shout, its forehoof nearly lie down on the ground. Bei Chening and Xian also couldn't help, but shivered a little from fear. In their eyes, even though Nangong Luoyun was conceited and insufferably arrogant, but he always cultivated a nobility that came from within his body. In their impressions, the angrier Nangong Luoyun was the more cruel his methods. The smile on his face would become increasingly more alluring and demonically charming. His voice would be low and soft. Such a savage roar was rarely seen. However, Nangong Luoyun may be fierce, but Su Luo wasn't afraid of him. Compared to the two people with their head hanging low not daring to look face to face with Nangong Luoyun, Su Luo seemed even more unperturbed. She held Nangong Luoyun's hand and softly said, "Okay, I won't say this word from now on, don't get angry." Nangong Luoyun gazed at her deeply. In the end he sighed. With one hand he pressed her to his chest. Luo, I'm afraid." Nangong Luoyun, who was cruel, untamed, aggressive, overbearing and insufferably arrogant. There was also a time when he was afraid. Bei Chening and Xian looked at each other in dismay. Shock flickered within their eyes. Really didn't expect on this feelings of affection between two people. Nangong Luoyun would sink in so deeply, so heavily. This strong affection nearly burned and injured them that were merely spectators, let alone to say how it affected Su Luo. Bei Chening watched the figures that were inseparably in love and nestled against each other. The corner of his mouth lifted up into a self-mocking bitter smile. His family's fearless second brother, with such deep emotional attachment. What could he still do? Some things that were buried deep in the heart. After a long time perhaps he would forget about it. However, Bei Chening also knows that this notion was merely to deceive himself. All around was quiet. After a long time, Su Luo then broke this oppressive atmosphere. Chapter 1039. Everyone assembled 3. It's fine, no need for such a bitter face, it's ominous. Su Luo quietly said with a smile. Your injuries. Xian looked at Su Luo with a tangled expression. In the end, how did it come about? She remembered at that time, third senior brother had already found Su Luo. The two of them clearly left together. With third senior brother by her side protecting her. How could he allow Luo to get injured? Thinking up to here, Xian glared at third senior brother whom she very much admired with condemnation in her eyes. Third senior brother was so strong. Why couldn't he have protected Luo Luo well? Having received Xian's condemning glare, Nangong Liuyun's expression didn't change, but the guilt and self-blame deep in his heart started to fill the air. Su Luo held his hand. She could feel the change in his mood. It was the old Wuxian Xia that injured me. Su Luo explained to them. Old Wuxian Xia? Xian almost jumped up. That which hasn't died yet? If it was the old Wuxian Xia, then no wonder third senior brother couldn't do much. No, now she is already dead. Su Luo smiled, then added a sentence. Nangong Liyun killed her. As soon as the words were said, everyone immediately became quiet. Bei Chen-ying's eyes widened until it was perfectly round. Xian's mouth was open wide. Both of them looked at Nangong Liyun in shock, unable to take their gazes away from him. This news was simply too terrifying. It was scarier than the news about him being a 10th-ranked expert. Old Wuxian Xia was well known for being exceptionally strong from the older generation. Her existence was close to defying nature. She was a character that could escape alive from being besieged by the heads of the 10 great powers. She was actually killed by Nangong? This is too damn shocking. Bei Chening finally found his voice, although he sounded a bit shaky. Su Luo exchanged a gentle glance with Nangong Liyun, then smilingly said to Bei Chening, "This matter, placed on Nangong's body, isn't strange at all." Nangong Liyun, these 4 characters, represented an existence that defied natural order. No matter what he did, everything was possible. Also right. Bei Chen-ying's voice quieted down. Su Luo's gaze when looking at Nangong Liyun was full of tenderness. Even a blind person could see her feelings for him. 2 years before, second brother had forcefully pinned her by his side, and she was like a bird in a cage, yearning for freedom. But 2 years later, she was perfectly happy to stay by his side with syrupy sweet feelings. He clenched the fists by his side a few times, Bei Chen-ying's lips slowly curling up into a genuine smile. Seeing her happy, his heart felt assured. Nangong Liyun thoughtfully glanced at Bei Chen-ying. His gaze was deep, pitch black like ink, and unfathomable. Xian, this child, was insensitive and careless, and completely was unaware that the mood was a bit strange. All of her attention was focused on Su Luo's injuries. Isn't your master Grandmaster Rongyan? Could it be that even he can't heal your injuries? Su Luo's complexion really was not very good. She couldn't feel the spirit force on Su Luo's body at all. Xian was really very worried. Su Luo smiled bitterly and shook her head. This time's injuries are comparably problematic. Even Master was helpless. In the end, since nothing could be done, so we chose to challenge Xian's Wood residence. Xian's Wood residence is being opened 10 years ahead of time. Actually is because of you. Xian's eyes momentarily opened wide. Could it be that you both don't know? Su Luo curiously asked. I don't know. Xian shook her head uncertainly. My master didn't tell me. My dad also didn't say. Bei Chening shook his head as well. It's no wonder. Su Luo lowered her voice and said in sudden realization. No wonder what? Nangong Liyun asked in a puzzled tone. Chapter 1040. Everyone assembled for. No wonder Li Yaoyao didn't say that she wouldn't go to Xian's Wood residence. Su Luo laughed faintly. If she knew that this time, going to Xian's Wood residence was to find the scarlet blood Ningpo figwort for me, she probably wouldn't even lift her head before leaving. It doesn't matter even if she left. Nangong Liyun said with a ghost of a smile. Why? Su Luo and the other 2 curiously asked. Nangong Liyun smiled mysteriously, but did not say anything revealing. That's right. How did you guys end up battling the snow lion? Mentioning this, Xian got really gloomy. She said in a tangled manner. Don't know which bastard injured the snow lion. The result being that we were walking along the road minding our business, and suddenly it attacked us. Humph, if I were to find out which bastard implicated us in his trouble, see if I wouldn't skin him alive. The more Xian talked, the angrier she got, with her eyes wide open in a glare. This time, they simply met this disaster by chance. It had nothing to do with them. Su Luo looked at her. Then she looked at Nangong Luyan, who was frowning, and with a puffed sound, she laughed out loud. Ben Qining unhappily hit Xian. The opponent could hurt the snow lion. Clearly he was very strong. You think you can beat him? With this short sentence, immediately Xian was choked off ruthlessly. Xian stared back with an imposing manner. I'm no match, but our sect has third senior brother. Third senior brother, you will help avenge me, right? The last part of the sentence, Xian said in a flattering manner, with her face lifted towards Nangong Luyan. Su Luo originally didn't want to stimulate Xian, but finally, she still couldn't stand by and idly watch. She smilingly told the actual facts. Do you think your third senior brother would skin himself? How is this possible? Having said the sentence halfway through, Xian's expression suddenly froze, as if her throat was being pinched by someone. No matter what, she couldn't finish the later half of the sentence. Third senior brother. That snow lion was you. Look at our Miss Xian being scared to such a degree. Nangong Luyan's gaze was clear and biting. His deeply cold phoenix eyes were narrowed halfway. He looked at Xian with a strange evilness in his eyes, and lifted up an eyebrow with a smirk. Ah, ha, this is such a coincidence. If it weren't for me and Little Shadow passing by and stopping this wounded snow lion, if it had escaped back to its community to complain, then it would have been difficult to deal with later. You couldn't say that Xian's reaction wasn't fast. She forced out 2 shallow laughs, directly reversed her stance and portrayed herself as a minister having done an outstanding service. But what she said wasn't wrong. If they had let the snow lion run back to its community, this would have become a big problem. Nangong Luyan gazed at her indifferently. A trace of sinisterness came through his eyes, and he said faintly, such a good plan was all ruined by you guys. Oh. Xian was suddenly confused. She looked at her little companion. Little Shadow, what does third senior brother mean? Why was it that she couldn't understand it? Beichening thoughtfully glanced at Nangong Luyan and asked, let the tiger return to the mountains. Could it be, like the mantis stalking the cicada, unaware of the danger behind it? Not so stupid after all. Nangong Luyan's voice was as cold as the ice in a deep pool, piercing through the bones. He heavily snorted. If you let the people escape, then both of you guys should slit your throats in apology. Xian became even more confused, with a perplexed expression painted over her entire face. She stealthily pulled at Beichening's sleeve. I know every word third senior brother said, but put it together, I really can't understand their meaning. Beichening smiled bitterly and shook his head. Keep quiet, we nearly messed up something huge. Just now, having considered herself a minister that had performed a great service, Xian could only look to Su Luo for help. Those two people's faces were both enigmatic, making her look like a complete idiot. At first, Su Luo also didn't understand it, but after she heard Beichening's words, she suddenly realized its meaning. Chapter 1041. Everyone assembled 5. For the time being, just watch very quickly, this matter will become clear. Su Luo smiled mysteriously. Seeing Xian's appearance of nearly about to blow one's top, Su Luo felt it was very amusing. At any rate, based on signs on the map, after another half a day's time, they would arrive at Xian's wood residence. Very quickly, everything would be cleared up for her. The dragon-scaled horse ran very fast through the snowy plateau. On the road to Xian's wood residence, very soon, they saw a group of people returning from this route. Nangong Luyan let out a faint command, and the dragon-scaled horse immediately stopped. There were 4 people returning from the original route. Situming, Li Yaoyao, were 2 of them that Su Luo had already encountered from before. The other 2 were Luo family's pair of siblings, Luo Haochen and Luo Jie. Su Luo and Xian had dealt with them before, and had ruthlessly oppressed them that time. Now there were 8 people for on each team. Both teams stood facing each other. Xian's wood residence is just up ahead. Where are you guys going? Beichening frowned in displeasure and snorted coldly. Li Yaoyao retrieved her gaze from Nangong Luyan. Her lips curled into a mocking sneer. Xian's wood residence? Why must we go to Xian's wood residence? That's right, we're not going to Xian's Wood residence. What are you going to do about it? Luo Die sneered. Li Yaoyao and Luo Die were already maternal cousins. Their relationship could be considered close, especially now, with the two groups facing off. Naturally, she would unanimously go against the outside group. Just now, Xian was kept in the dark. The other three all knew, only she couldn't understand it. This kind of feeling already made her feel down. Now Li Yaoyao and Luo Die actually came to provoke her annoyance. Immediately, our Miss Xian got angry. Li Yaoyao, Luo Die, you are already at Xian's Wood residence's gate. Now you guys want to turn back? Your brains must be defective. Having traveled over land and sea to come here, nearly at the gate, and they suddenly don't want to go in? Li Yaoyao sneered back. Xian, I think the one with the problem is you, alright? You guys want to search for the Scarlet Blood Ningpo figwort for Su Luo, but we are not willing. As expected, after Li Yaoyao and Luo Die had joined up and shared their information, very easily, they arrived at this conclusion. Because Luo family were an aristocratic family of apothecaries, and Li Yaoyao also knew Su Luo was sickly, so it wasn't difficult to arrive at this conclusion. From Li Yaoyao's perspective, if Su Luo couldn't obtain the Scarlet Blood Ningpo figwort, then she would die. After she had died, then wouldn't third senior brother be hers? Therefore, not only would she not help Su Luo enter Xian's Wood residence to get the Scarlet Blood Ningpo figwort, on the contrary, she would do everything to impede this. Luo Die also hated Su Luo to the bones. Naturally, she didn't wish her well. Therefore, these two joined together to convince the other two men. Consequently, once they reached Xian's Wood residence, they didn't enter and turned around to come back. Ziyan and Bei Chen-ing exchanged a glance. Both of their eyes were filled with anger. Treacherous vile bastards. Actually let them guess the truth of this matter. Then what's to be done now? Out of habit, they both cast their gazes towards Nangong Luyin. In both of their eyes, this person was the backbone. There was nothing he couldn't solve. Nangong Luyin stood there unmoving, his whole body emitting a king's respected aura. He appeared like a sharp edge to the outside, domineeringly strong, not to be ignored. Who wants to go? Nangong Liuyun's eyes cast a side glance at Li Yaoyao. His eyes were penetrated thoroughly with a strong, evil ruthlessness. Li Yaoyao, who was about to leave, immediately froze mid-step. She could direct her frigid irony and scorching satire at any of them, without having to hide it. But when it came to Nangong Luyin, she couldn't be so rigid, no matter what. Third senior brother, this is our choice, I hope you can respect it. Li Yaoyao's pair of beautiful eyes stared at Nangong Luyin. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.